Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 115 of the Xbox Hall Gamers podcast. This week, I'm joined by our good friend Shane.
Hello.
And
Welcome back.
Yes, we're very glad to have you back. And just me. That's it. It's just going to be us two. So it's going to be a nice intimate podcast. But we got lots to talk about. A lot of games. Shane's been playing a fair amount. I've been playing a lot. There's a little bit of news. And of course, Isaac has sent in a wonderful question as always. But first, as always, we do the show live on Twitch. Xbox Hall of Gamers is the place to find us. Come say hi, hang out in the chat. That would probably have been easier if I had put a post in the Discord that we were actually going live, but I forgot to do that. So that's my bad. But whatever, people will catch the VOD. I also, speaking of the VOD, we do also put these episodes up on YouTube. So if you want to go look at the backlog, Xbox Hall of Gamers on YouTube is the place to find us there. I think we've got just about every episode that we've done outside of some of our spoiler casts. So yeah, go check them out if you missed the VOD, because they are only on Twitch for a little bit. I don't know. Should we get straight into our user question here, Shane?
Yeah. What we got?
So Isaac says, "Hey guys, has the game ever made you so upset that you've rage quit? If so, did you ever go back to it? Back in the day, I rage quit Fallout 3 and uninstalled the game, only to reinstall it a few days later and eventually fall in love with the game. Thanks for taking my question." Thank you for asking, Isaac. It's a fantastic question. All right, Shane, just off the top of your head, first thing that pops in your mind, you got anything that really
Kingdom Hearts 1.
Yeah, okay.
Like back in the day, of course I couldn't uninstall it because I'm old and you
Sure.
couldn't do that back then. But I remember getting to the final spoiler alert for Kingdom Hearts 1. But I got to the Riku fight
Oh,
and just
the one-on-one fight.
Yeah, the final fight. I was like, nope, done. Like I'm so sick of this garbage, and I just stopped playing it. I did go back and beat it a couple days later, but I was so mad. I was so mad. I've been mad a lot at video games, but that was like top 10 for sure.
Yep. I have a similar memory of that that fight in particular. Although going back and doing it on the HD remaster or whatever that they brought out on Xbox, I didn't have nearly as much trouble with it. And I was like, am I just better at the game now, or did I grind more, or did they make it easier? I don't know. I'm not sure.
See, I get that feeling a lot with games I go back to that have been brought to Xbox, and it's like, oh wow, this is a lot easier than I remember it being.
Yeah.
So I bet if I played it now, it'd be like, oh well, this is an easy completion overall. But I remember just fuming at that for days.
Yeah.
And it's hard to go because they're like, oh, games you want to install nowadays, I'm a completionist. If I'm gonna finish it, like, sorry, no matter how
Yeah.
much it takes me off, it's not getting uninstalled. It's gonna get finished, and then I'll really hardcore uninstall it when I'm done. So
Yeah, I'm in the same boat in a lot of ways. There's definitely been stuff where I've just been like throwing my controller, walked away, and then been like, come back 30 minutes later, be like, all right, fine, but whatever. I got to get the game done. So, I found that as I've gotten older, my patience for bullshit has gotten less and less. Like I'm just like, I just can't.
we got time for that, man.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm just like, I've got so
know.
many fucking games to play and so much shit to do. I'm just like, fuck it. Like if this is just gonna fuck me off, I'm just gonna go do something else.
Pretty much.
Oh man, there's so many that I could list. Cameron also put a response in the chat. He says, I don't rage quit. I witness rage quits. Far too stubborn. Actually, tell a lie. There was one incident where I hadn't gone back to Black Ops 3 because someone couldn't community. I don't know what that means, but other times witnessing Professor Pluto with zombies and Neomaster with a few things he hasn't had the patience for, and also radiation will do that to you. Yeah, I famously I've had a few rage quits with Cameron. It's an interesting one because like I flip between like rage quit and then just dejected head and hands, like this is the end. I'm going to give up video games forever. I'm clearly too old for this shit and I'm too arthritic to be playing this stuff. I think I'm more in the latter category these days, where I'm just like the stuff that I can't do. I'm just like this. I've hit my skill ceiling. I just think I can't do it. But even some of the stuff I was playing like yesterday, I've been playing the GTA 3 definitive edition recently, and
Oh yeah.
like fun game, right? Like from my from my childhood back playing it when I was way too young to be playing something that violent. But there like games have come a long way since then, and there is a lot of stuff in there that you're just like, oh yeah, I did a jump and your car flipped over and it just blows up and you die. You're like, no, that's a shame. And you're like, every other game nowadays is like, oh, the cars will generally land on their wheels, or they'll have a flip button, or you can push them over or whatever. Like usually there's some quality of life stuff in there. Um, yeah, there's a lot of the stuff around like, okay, driving into something, of like what's breakable and what isn't. And it's like, okay, well,
Hmm.
can I drive through this thing? It's like, well, it's a hedge, but it's poorly rendered. So maybe it'll let me drive through it, or maybe it'll just stop my car dead like a concrete pillar and just flip me out of throw me through the windshield. Um, so I've had a few like a little bit of like annoyance of that, not like full out rages and uninstall, but it's been a while.
Well, again, I'm a completionist, and I was going through my list while you're talking, and I'm like, when's the last time I like really lost it? And I think it's El Shaddai.
Oh
That
man,
was rough. Like
yeah,
there were many times I didn't stream like I didn't stream like Cam and Mike for a lot of that because after the first playthrough I did do all the I forget what is it, S ranks whatever,
yeah.
and just man I was livid. I was really struggling with that one. But I think the next one is probably going to be Max Payne 3. So stay tuned
Oh
because I'm sure that's going to be rough.
yeah,
I have an achievement hunter friend who he started that back. God, has it been like time's a blur for me, but I think it's been like 5 years and he's still working on it, that final
oh
achievement. So,
yeah.
oh, I'm not looking forward to that. But
I've
hey,
got it sitting there.
Twitch changed their like rules so I can finally stream it at least.
Oh,
And they can
that's
show
good
the
at least.
boobies and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's one of those ones I think is going to get stuck on incomplete for a long time.
it already has been
Yeah. Oh, actually, a recent one that I really raged at was Inscription. I love that game. It's really, really good. But
such good things.
the final challenge of the challenge mode is basically like it's like turn all the difficulty modifiers on. And one of them is basically every second wave of the three boss fights that you fight, just puts a bunch of like 6'5" grizzlies in every single spot. So it's like if yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I can beat his first phase real easy because I got a real broken combo. And it's like, well, you better have an attack card that does more than 6 damage and attacks twice, otherwise you're done in the first turn. And so I had so many
Oof.
runs where I was like, got to the first boss, I'm like, I got a pretty good setup, and then just nah, just was not in the cards. Um, so I find that like RNG is really the thing that I probably rage at the most. Because there's nothing quite like Lady Luck to really fuck you over.
That'll do it. Yeah, Inscription's that's the spooky, not spooky card game, but it's a card game, and I remember like there's like a shadow person on the other side of the
Yeah,
table. Yeah.
yeah, highly
Ah,
recommend it. I finished it a
I've
few weeks ago.
heard very good things. That was a hot item not last year, like 2021,
21, I
2022,
think it was.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Because what's it? Dan Mullins. I'm trying to remember what is. Yeah, Daniel Mullins.
Yeah.
He's the guy who's like he's done a lot of these kinds of games. He did like Pony Island and the Hex, and I think there might be one other in there that I'm forgetting. But he's also doing Pony Island 2, which I think got shown off at was it the Game Awards, I think, or was it something like that? It looked really good.
Yeah, it was the Game Awards.
Looks fantastic. I know Cameron's also
That's
pretty excited
like
for that.
trippy.
I'm really hoping that he kind of brings some of his older games to Xbox as well, because Inscription's the only one currently, which is I think kind of like the third one in his kind of series, I guess, depending on how you slice it.
Does he have
Um,
like a like an aesthetic, kind of
yeah,
like
very much like a
Grasshopper guy or
like kind of like a meta aesthetic where he's like kind of does things where it's just
oh,
like the games are kind of there are games within games and kind of things going on outside of the game, that sort of stuff, which is kind of interesting. Pony Island in particular was the first, like his first one that he did like that, and it went places. That a game about a runner with a pony that you jump over things. It got a lot more complex than that.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Um, I'm just going down my list. I'm like, oh yeah, Ghost Runner. I didn't rage too much at, but definitely had some bullshit.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I have a bad temper, so like I was going through the list. I'm like, oh, I got mad at that one. I got mad at that one. But like I was trying to
yeah,
think, what was the last one I lost it? And yeah, it's El Shaddai. That
yeah,
was that was a rough one.
yeah. El Shaddai. Like I just looked at the achievements for that, and I was just like, I really wanted to play through it because I love the idea and the aesthetic, but the achievements for it just looked so rough that I was like, I don't know if I can put myself through this.
Literally, yes. That's why I didn't start it for the longest time. I was like, I know me. I know this is gonna be rough. And I forget why I started it. It may have been for a TA event. I
That's
can't remember
usually how it
why, but
goes.
I did start it, and I was like, all right, I guess I'm stuck here now. And it was not as cool as I thought it'd be. It was
Yeah.
okay. It was a very cool aesthetic, but it just felt kind of empty. But yeah, that was hard. That
Uh,
was kind of that combat system was not up to snuff at all.
oh, recent one, Explosion Man. That's one I definitely raged at for
Oh,
years. Uh,
yep, I remember that
because
one.
I was looking, I started it June 2010 and I finished it November last year. So it took me 13 years to get through just about. Um, I didn't start Explosion Man because because every level is basically as hard as the hardest level of regular Explosion Man. So and then right before that is
Yep.
Sekiro, which also Sekiro I definitely raged at a lot. So much so that I basically broke my controller, not by raging, but by trying to parry, like by just jamming on the parry button so much that I broke one of the bumpers. Um,
Is Sekiro on Game Pass?
it is not. It should be though, but it's a
Okay.
great fucking game.
Well,
Cameron,
I just know I need to work through all the Dark Souls likes or whatever, and I
yeah,
only own Dark Souls 1 like on 360, so as far as I'm concerned, that'll be the only one I do at some point.
that
But
is my favorite
Sekiro, I've
one.
heard very good things.
Yeah, Sekiro is like I'm pretty good at the Souls-like games. I played a lot of them, right? But Sekiro is the one that I'm like that's the most get good game I probably ever played in my entire life. Uh, and even though I was cheesy as fuck in that game. Fuck, it's such a great game though. But yeah, I was looking at like I don't know. I don't tend to play a lot of the like really frustrating harder stuff these days. I mean, like, I'm trying to like I kind of went through like a phase of like just playing like really easy stuff, and then it was like actually let maybe pull it back a little bit and play some stuff that's maybe more difficult. And now I'm trying to even it out a little bit to be like I'll play stuff that's medium, but that this I'm in it for a good time, not a hard time. Um, having said that though, I have
Completions,
a
that's the important part. Like, what are you
yeah.
talking about?
Wow. Yeah, exactly. As long as I can get the game done. But I do have a lot of shit on here that I'm just like, man, I don't know if I'm ever going to get through that. I started the Banner Saga and that game automatically just kicked me on my ass. I'm like, this is probably
Oof.
a mistake.
Yeah, I saw
Um,
that achievement list. I was like, nope. Much like those kind of games, not touching that one.
yeah, yeah. I got
'Cause I
just
think I
because
owned it. It was like a Games with Gold or something, like, wasn't it?
yeah, I think the first one was, yeah, I just kept getting
Yeah.
recommended to me. They're like, oh, you'd love it, you'd love it. You like the whole Viking thing. It's so cool. I'm like, oh, all right, fine. And I got like three
Ooh,
achievements
Vikings.
in
Yeah,
it.
that'll do it.
Three achievements, and I was like, it's like, oh, it's all narrative and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but I also have to play on hard and get my ass handed to me in like the third mission. Anyway,
A game like that for me is what was the one that came out Game Pass? It was like the Grail or Holy Grail or
oh, Massive Chalice,
Chalice. That's the one.
Massive Chalice, the
Yep.
Double Fine
I
one.
remember
Yeah,
that's it, Double Fine. That's why I was interested in it. And I was like,
yeah,
oh, that sounds awesome. And then I looked at the achievements like,
yeah. No,
no, no, no, no, no, no, no, no.
had to draw the line
I'm not
somewhere.
touching that one. Not for a while. So Double Fine makes great games. I've done I think all their 360 ones at this point.
I think yeah,
Pretty sure.
Double Fine has some great stuff. I mean, it's a real shame
Stacking?
that
Stacking's good stuff.
yeah, stacking's great. I really enjoyed. I mean, Costume Quest, and
Mm-hmm.
I
Played that
really
one
hope that they get
recently.
around to remaking Psychonauts 1 because they really need to. As
Yeah,
much
because it's
as
on original
it's
Xbox,
on the
right?
original Xbox, but it is like
Yeah.
it plays like absolute shit. And I feel like, with all the work they put into the second game and building the engine for it, I'm like, just
I've
do
heard
a
good things
port.
about the second one too.
Second one's fantastic, and it's on Game Pass, so um,
That's fair.
it's actually like that might not be a bad shout for something to like as a relatively chill game to play.
Mm.
All right. Anything else that springs to mind?
Nah, not really.
All right, easy. We'll move
Like I
on
said,
then.
I have a bad temper, man. If we go over games that tick me off, I'll like, oh, yeah. It was one time my fish got away from me in Animal Crossing, and I about threw my DS. So you know,
Yep. Yeah, this is me with racing games. I'm just like
ooh, that's why I don't
fucking
play those.
yeah, no. Uh, so we got a little bit of news. Cameron has been kind enough, even though he couldn't make the show, kind enough to put in some news stories. So the first one here is that Dreamlight Valley devs, so I believe that's Gameloft, New Zealand
Yep,
developers, I believe, are looking to make a life sim RPG set in the Baldur's Gate 3 universe. So
which is a choice.
is interesting. Although when Cameron brought the story out to me, I'm like, you do realize that Baldur's Gate 3 is just the Forgotten Realms, and they basically just went to Wizards of the Coast and like, hey, can we use the D&D setting for like a life sim thing? And they're like, yeah, we already licensed it to literally everybody, so why not? So it's a
There's
little
so
bit
many
of a
D&D games.
yeah, it's a little bit of a clickbait headline. I mean, like Neverwinter is part of Forgotten Realms, like it's fucking there's so many games in that universe, as it were. But it's an interesting idea. I mean, I guess after Dreamlight Valley, they kind of realized that hey, there's a market for this kind of life sim stuff. You recently finished Dreamlight Valley, right?
Yeah, I did. It's a great game.
Is it?
Uh, uh, uh,
I've
go
been.
ahead.
It's well because they are they. Is it free still or are they? Because I remember there was something happening with that where they were like going to be bringing it out as
Yeah,
a
they were gonna go. It was gonna be a free to play game, and there's a lot of like, not pay to win. It's a life sim game, but
sure.
a lot of microtransactions in it. And I think they were gonna scale that back, and because it probably wasn't making the money they thought, and they
Hmm.
went full. It's full. It's like a you pay for it now. So
Oh, okay, interesting. I mean, I guess like Gameloft have done a lot of mobile stuff, so it's interesting to see them kind of in the console space. You don't see a lot of that from them.
didn't
Um,
they do the? Did they do the Disney racing game too?
yeah, the Speeds was it Speeds the free to play one?
Speed Storm. Yeah, Speed
Speed
Storm.
Storm, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Gameloft has been on a. I haven't played any of their other games in a long time, but like Dreamlight Valley and Speedstorm are pretty good mimics of what they're mimicking in this case, Animal Crossing and Mario Kart.
Mm,
So, I mean, if they apply that to the Dungeons and Dragons universe and like, I don't know, maybe RPG-fy it a little bit, maybe like a little what's that franchise called? Not Harvest Moon, the one Rune Factory. If they like Rune Factory
oh, okay,
Dreamlight
yeah,
Valley,
right. Yeah, right. I
I'd
see what
be
you're
down
saying.
for that.
Put a little mini combat
Yeah.
system in there. Yeah. I better keep
Yeah,
this
like oh,
quiet,
you have
otherwise Allison's gonna fucking put it on my tag. I'm not careful.
you have like a little house and stuff, but then you go out to like go kill some beholders or something. That'd be pretty bomb.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Like that actually
I'd be down for
sounds
that.
pretty good, actually. Uh,
Yeah, right.
interesting. All right. I'm looking at like the stuff they've released, and a lot of it is yeah, just Windows Phone and Windows stuff. But
Yeah, I always do Gameloft as like they'd be like the one person I'd be getting achievements on Windows 7 or like Windows Phone 7 and
yeah,
things like
because they did
that.
like the Asphalt
Like,
games, right? And that sort of stuff.
hmm yeah. And then I remember when they announced that they were doing like Dreamlight Valley and then later on Speedstorm, and everyone's like,
Mm,
I don't know about that. But then I remember playing Dreamlight Valley and going, this is actually pretty good. And
mm.
for being obviously it's not a free game anymore, but for being a free game, it never felt pay to win. Like they weren't like milking you for money. It
Yeah,
was pretty much, oh, you can play the game and you can enjoy it and never spend a cent, but if you want, your house to look like Peter Pan's ship, then maybe pony up $5, I mean, and
interesting. Yeah.
so this could be really good if they do it right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like, I think one of the key things about Baldur's Gate 3's popularity is not necessarily that it's a D&D combat system, but that it's a social and romancing system, like that's the social part is a lot of what got the wider attention of a lot of people. I mean, obviously, people like to see TikToks of putting a million barrels around the goblin camp and killing everyone in one blow, right? But a lot of it is like
Mhm.
people fangirling over Halcyon and Asterion and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, gamers be horny. What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
But
it'd
at the
be
same
true.
time, like, yeah, it'd be true. But gamers also like to obsess about their like villagers and stuff. So, I mean, it could be a good combination if they did it right. Again, Until Dreamlight Valley, I would have been skeptical, but after
Mm.
Dreamlight Valley and Speedstorm and the other things they've done recently, like, yeah, I mean, they could pull it off. I guess we'll see.
All
Is there
right.
any, was there a release date or any kind of like window yet? I
No, I
can't
think they
remember.
basically just were like, hey, we're getting this out there. It's coming to PC and console, but that's kind of it. They just basically said that it's happening. I mean, yeah, join. They can apply. Oh yeah, basically, they want basically it's a job listing thing. They're like, hey, we're upscaling the business, so we want
We're
people
doing
to,
it.
yeah. So they
Yeah.
want people on board to help them with it, which I guess makes sense. They're not a huge studio. Um, so I'd be very interested to see kind of what that looks like. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be for me, but it might be. Like, it might have enough variety into it to
I guess
actually
it's
make
too
it
early to
something
tell
that
if it's gonna
could.
be like free to play or any of that stuff yet, huh?
Yeah, right, exactly. Like
Hmm.
I don't imagine it would be, right? Because I don't know if Wizards of the Coast kind of go into that like free to play stuff for the most part. And it doesn't look like, I mean,
Oh,
with
they got like
Gameloft,
Magic the Gathering Arena and things like that. I
that's
mean,
true. That is true. Yeah,
so
that's a good point. Um,
that is the
hmm.
way to go
But I
nowadays, at
mean, hey,
least.
ride that wave. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 just absolutely took over.
Yeah, no, I would be if I were to the coast, of course, that's we're watching the entire game industry learning that you shouldn't do this, but at the same time, games Wizards of the Coast is very new to the success of Baldur's Gate, and I'm sure their boards are finally getting around to capitalizing on that popularity, and this is what we're gonna see. Because
Yeah.
I think the Payday developers are also got a Dungeons and Dragons game coming out
Really? Oh,
or in
Starbreeze.
development.
Yeah.
So Starbreeze, yeah.
Which is actually a
So
nice little segue into our next story, which is that
oh,
Starbreeze basically just kicked out their current CEO.
well, maybe not, but that was the plan before.
Yeah, well, to be fair, yeah, the studio's board decided that a strategy needed a quote unquote different leadership after what happened with Payday 3.
Oh
Uh
yeah, I'm sure a lot of heads rolled for that one.
yeah, which is not hugely surprising. Starbreeze has had a really rough history as a developer and publisher. They've done some fantastic games, but it really feels like they just don't seem to. I don't know, because like what's like because Starbreeze, I guess Payday is probably Starbreeze's best. Like Payday 2 especially was the thing that kind of put them on the map a little bit. But I mean, I remember when they
Yeah,
did like Syndicate and God, what was the other ones? They're responsible for the Chronicles of
Starbreeze.
Riddick games
Did
as
they
well,
do
I think.
Darkness? The first
Yeah, Darkness
Darkness?
2, I think. Maybe. I think
No, Darkness 1, I feel
was
like.
well, you
I
might
don't
be
know, look it
right
up.
actually,
But
yeah.
because Darkness 2 was a completely different game. I did both of those.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, you're right. Yeah, like they did the first one, yeah.
yeah, that's where I knew them from. Because Payday, I remember coming out and going, oh, that looks neat, but the Darkness was like a big deal back then.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at their kind of yeah list. Um, yeah, Chronicles of Riddick, Syndicate, Darkness, and then Payday 3. Yeah.
Oh,
It
Darkness 2 was Digital Extremes. That tracks.
yeah, so weird. Yeah. I mean, I liked the second game, but it was very, very different.
Second game was very fun. The
Yeah.
Darkness 1 was a very cool game.
Yeah.
For Achievement Hunter, not so much, because man, that final multiplayer grind was rough. But
Yeah, true.
uh Darkness 2 was definitely far more of a enjoyable game.
Yeah, it was a much
I
more
remember
linear
just
comic
tearing
booky.
through crowds. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Uh Cameron's going through the darkness at the moment and re-going through it and absolutely loving it.
Ooh.
Still holding out on a third game, but I wouldn't hold my breath. 2K had too
I wouldn't hold my
busy
breath.
making money on fucking NBA and GTA.
GTA. GTA.
I've heard of it.
I mean, I know 2K makes them some buku bucks, but man, GTA 6, oof, it's
I had to
coming and
mute
it's gonna hit.
The GTA 6 subreddit on Reddit just because there was just way too many posts of people just analyzing every single shot of the goddamn trailer, trying
Yeah,
to
I was about to say, I'm sure they're taking it apart constantly.
yeah, and then just people posting just the most inane bullshit and then linking to their blockchain
Yeah,
Bitcoin
yeah.
um SoundCloud. But yeah, so Starbreeze is going through a bit of a rough spot. Uh But it's interesting, yeah. The CEO has only been there for like 3 years, which is, the games industry is kind of in a bit of a weird spot altogether. We're losing a lot of people recently, a lot of layoffs, but this seems like it's less like, oh yeah, we're in a bit of a downturn, and more like, hey, you were in charge of this thing and completely fucked up what should have been an easy W. I mean, Payday 2 is
And I'll be
so
honest,
fucking huge.
yeah, it was like a phenomenon for a while there. I mean, how many DLC packs did that game get with how many crossovers?
A
Like,
lot. I
it
mean,
was a
fucking was it
thing.
fucking Goat Simulator had a crossover with Payday.
Didn't John Wick too, I
Yeah, there
feel
was a
like?
lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I
Well,
don't
it's
know.
nice
But
to see a CEO being fired instead of, half the development team for once. So
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'm
But
sure
I
he's
mean,
got a golden
also,
parachute. He'll be fine.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, oh no, oh no. Uh,
Oh, no.
yeah, but I think the killer thing was that you saw posts around going that more people were playing the second game than the third game because it was just unplayable in terms of both from a bugginess perspective and server capacity and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah, I believe
it
they're
was a
also
bit
part
of
of
a
Embracer Group,
flop.
which probably doesn't help either.
That super doesn't help. Not in this
Yeah,
environment. No way.
so there's a few hundred K they could probably take off the line of the expense items there for them, unfortunately.
It's okay. They'll make it back with Gollum too. It'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Ah man, Embracer, they're just yeah. Um, Speaking of things that might be making some money and actually topping some charts, it looks like that Sea of Thieves, might have heard of it. It's got some pirates in it.
Oh yeah.
Coming
Some
to
little indie
PlayStation.
developer. Yeah.
Yep. Coming to PlayStation. So you don't need an Xbox anymore at all. You can just throw it right out. Um, it looks like it's apparently topping the PlayStation 5 pre-order charts. So it looks like maybe Xbox might be onto a winner here, and that people are actually interested in multi-platform games.
Oh
Who would
man,
have thought?
the multi-billion developer knew what they were doing. Oh God, what? Oh no. They
Yeah.
knew that there was just money in them there hills and they were going for it. Shocker. Really.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine them being like, "Hey, we're
Mm.
we're gonna we're gonna put a game on another platform," and everyone was like, "This is the stupidest thing you've ever done. How could you ever think this was going to work? You've literally ruined your entire brand."
Let's let's be fair. The only people saying that were the console warriors from
This
the
is true.
console wars that have been over for a long time now, guys. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
just
Come on,
stop.
guys. You need to, yeah. They need to calm down.
You're that old
Um,
Japanese guy on the island who thinks World War II still. Like,
yeah,
just
exactly.
give it
That's
up.
yes. That's a
No
hundred
one
percent what
cares.
it is. So apparently the premium edition of the game has the number one slot on the PS5 console store pre-order page. When sort of
Nice, good
by
for them.
best selling, so people are jumping on. And apparently the standard edition as well is sitting in fifth place. So they're two separate items. So people seem pretty keen for this.
Man, I've heard it's a good game, right? Like, did you ever play that one?
I no, I considered it, but after the
Yeah, neither
whole
did I.
discontinued fiasco, I just like it's been one of those
Yeah.
like, yeah, if we get a group together, maybe we'll do it. But now, unfortunately, it's kind of going in the no bueno
Well,
bucket.
from what I've heard, the normals, not the achievement hunters, they're pretty keen on the game. Like, from what I've heard, it started out pretty bare bones, but I think at this point it's a full-fledged, like, beloved experience. So, I mean, again, Phil Spencer and the team over there know what they're doing. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not shocked that it's gonna sell gangbusters. I'm sure the other games aren't going to so much. Maybe what were the other ones? It was
Hi-Fi
Sea of
Rush.
Thieves. Yep, Hi-Fi Rush, which I sure didn't do too great on Xbox either. I think it sold pretty great on Steam,
I think it did
but I'm
okay, but
sure
it
that's
was
not
also
like
Game Pass,
gangbusters.
so it's always
Yeah.
like, well, like how much is it actually going to sell?
Yeah, they see those numbers though, so I'm sure they tout it
That
like everyone's playing it, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I mean, I think it did
Um,
relatively
but I
well
feel
in terms of yeah playership, but yeah,
Pentiment,
Pentiment
which
and
is
Grounded
very
were the other ones.
niche.
Yeah,
Grounded, I would have expected to do pretty well too.
yeah, I
Like
think
I've
Grounded
heard
will do
that's a
just
really
fine.
good fun one too,
Yeah, I mean,
which is
it's that
Obsidian.
it's that live service thing, right? Where it's like, hey, the more people
Hmm.
you have playing a live service, especially community-based ones, the better. So those yeah, Sea of Thieves and Grounded are kind of no-brainers. So I think they'll probably do pretty well.
Yeah, most analysis I saw before that was all announced was like it's probably these two at least. And Hi-Fi Rush I know was a big one. I think Pentiment was only confirmed through leaks and of course obviously the announcement. And there was a fifth one. What was it? It was it four or five?
It was four. It's four. They said four to begin with.
Yeah,
Um, although interestingly,
but not
um,
Indiana Jones and Starfield.
not yet. They said, yeah, they
They
basically
made
said that
very clear that one.
yeah, not it's they're not part of those four, but they didn't say it was never
Mm.
coming across. So we'll see. I'm not. We might be in for a year long exclusivity deal or something along those lines. Who knows? Um,
Yeah, I don't think Xbox is in that anymore. Again, the console wars are well over.
mhm,
I mean, Xbox is trying to get as many eyes on Xbox Live as they can.
mhm.
Nintendo is doing their own little weird thing over there, and then PlayStation is kind of the only
Kind of
what's the
imploding
word
and
for
losing
not
all their money
normal,
and their
but
profit market share. Well, no, market share's fine, but their
yeah, they're
profitability
not
is
doing too great.
pretty rough at the moment. But also, it's just that's
Didn't
just the
they announce
industry.
that they've got like no games coming out this year?
Hmm.
Like, wolf. But yeah, I think they're the only ones who are traditional. That's the word I'm looking for.
Sure.
They're probably the only traditional market right now, but they're also the top in the market. So I guess we'll see how that levels out. But yeah, the console wars are over. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. I think Xbox probably has like what, maybe two more consoles tops left
Hmm.
before they just go full cloud. So yeah, I'm not surprised by this, and I don't think they'll do any more games that are like, I don't think Gears of War is going to go multi-platform. I don't think Indiana Jones, honestly, or Starfield. These like live service ones though, like Sea of Thieves and Grounded, I'm not surprised. Not even a little
Yeah.
bit. Um, do those have pay to win? I've never played either of them. I don't,
I know Sea of
not
Thieves, I
like pay to
believe,
win, but
has
like
I
microtransactions.
believe Sea of Thieves has some microtransactions in it. I mean, they all will
Yeah.
of some kind have something in them, but probably relatively minor. Yeah, it's
Okay.
an interesting. I
Again,
mean,
that makes sense.
yeah, get more people playing them. I mean, make more money. I totally understand. And yeah, I don't know. I definitely feel like these, there was talk around these four games obviously being a test bed for them bringing over other games in the future. And I think
Mhm.
that if they do success like really, really well, there's probably like some level of like second tier games from Xbox more likely to come across, like your Hi-Fi Rushes or your Pentiments that are like first party games, but not
Exactly.
your like main, you know, big heavy hitter IPs like Halo and Gears. Um,
Yeah.
it's interesting looking at the list of other stuff that's currently on the big pre-order list is MLB The Show 24, Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection, yikes, Dragon's Dogma 2,
Yikes.
and Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, and Rise of the Ronin. So, like, I mean, those are some of the big games for this month. So to see Sea of Thieves, a game that is pretty old by this point, up at the
Yeah,
top
that's
spot
actually
is
really old, isn't it?
yeah, it's been around for quite a few years now. It's very interesting to see that. I mean, I guess it's new to me, right? That's the whole thing. But yeah, man, if they fix those fucking achievements, maybe I will go and play it. I don't know, but they said they won't
Well,
do
as
the
I was
arena
always,
stuff.
you go to like Reddit or Twitter and you always see the people trying to hold their torches and stuff. And I'm just like, you have no idea how, even if you're not, I mean, as achievement hunters, we're already like a fraction of a niche of a niche.
Yeah,
But like most gamers don't care. Like
no,
Sea of Thieves is a fun game from I've heard, and that's it. It's
that's
gonna
all it
sell
needs to
well.
be,
Boom.
really.
And again,
Yeah.
the people at Xbox know that, and they know what they're doing. But it's just funny to watch these keyboard warriors going to war for this multi-billion corporation if they don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it's good to see. And in this case, please people give Rare money. Please give them more money.
Yes,
Like I'm
actually.
so glad that Sea of Thieves has become a thing because before that, I mean, most people don't remember Rare was like the Connect sports people.
Yep,
Like
yep. They
that
just they
and
bled talent, unfortunately.
yep, that and Banjo 3, which no one
I'm
liked
sorry, what?
mostly.
Never
Night
heard
Nuts
of it.
Bolts, that the game, that one. There was a third Banjo game. Remember that? There's actually four Banjo games.
Is there four?
Funny
Holy,
enough. Game Boy Advance, I believe.
really?
When
Huh.
Rare was like allowed to make Game Boy Advance games for some reason.
Weird.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm glad they're making money. Like one thing I have seen a lot of people try to point out is like, hey, if you like Xbox, you want them to make more money. Like we want them to be successful.
Yeah, you
That's
want to have a
good.
competitive marketplace out there.
Also, yes. But like if you enjoy being in your Xbox ecosystem, you want them to make money, guys. Like
Mm.
Rare making money is good for all of us because that means we'll get more Rare games, hopefully.
Hopefully they
Banjo
get
4 or
Everwild out
Banjo
at some
5,
stage in the
please.
next 10 years.
That wasn't shown last time, was it?
No, it hasn't been
Because
shown for
they only showed like Avowed was the big
ages.
one.
Like it
Yeah,
was,
that's
they announced it
true.
like 3 or 4 years ago now, and we haven't seen a single thing about it. And apparently it's been rebooted like 3 times.
And on top of that, they got the pandemic, and I'm sure there's layoffs over there that we've heard about or haven't heard
Hmm.
about. And then, of course, Sea of Thieves again is probably doing pretty good. And they're like, could you maybe focus on that a little more than this game that we can't get out yet?
Yeah.
So, but good for Rare. I hope I wish them success. I'm sure most of the team that were the classic Rare people are gone, but like that's a great studio with a major legacy that I hope continues to succeed as much as possible.
Mm. Yeah, totally agree. Uh, Speaking of talking about sort of console generations and the future of them, Peter Moore got asked some interesting questions around the future of
Name I heard in a while.
yeah, right, exactly. For those who don't know, he used to run Xbox, Sega, Electronic Arts. The guy's been all over the place. Pretty sure he has a Halo 2 tattoo. Um,
Oh God, that's right. Oh
yeah, right.
man.
Yeah, that's like that.
And he did black and white, nothing else. That's all he's known for is black and white. I mean, that's all he did. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that and killing the Dreamcast.
oh yeah, so, well,
He was the one who had to announce the death of the Dreamcast back in the day.
a lot of
Um,
fingers in that pie.
yeah, that was rough. He did a retrospective on that a little while ago about like what was happening behind the scenes at Sega and all that kind of stuff. It was super interesting, and how everyone was super excited for it. And then Sony brought out the PlayStation 2, and they were like, "Fuck!"
You
It's
gotta
like they
spill
had,
that tea, and then like, oh no, wait, our
yeah,
mistakes are coming up. Oh no.
yeah. But he's sort of talking about how with Xbox console sales being really disappointing and PlayStation 5 basically saying it's entering the latter half of its cycle, which about makes sense, which is kind of weird to think about. But um, talking about how um, basically said that it's like he from his mind is definitely like a serious question that people all over are going to be asking. I was like, what's happening with consoles? Like, do they have a future? Um, and the idea that the way consoles used to work was that you sell at a loss to start with, and then as components became cheaper, you eventually kind of broke even or made a little bit of money on them. Um, but now like things just aren't getting cheaper. Like the components aren't getting cheaper, the chips they use aren't getting cheaper.
Mhm.
Like we haven't seen any like major price drops for the consoles in nearly like 4 years. Which like if you think about like the 360 generation or even the Xbox One generation, like that's nuts. I mean, the Xbox One's maybe a
Yeah.
little different because they had to drop it because they were getting their fucking lunch eaten. But I don't know, like it's interesting to think like if you're Sony or Microsoft and going, okay, what's the next Xbox? What's the next PlayStation? How many billions of dollars can we afford to lose on this to build this machine and get it out to market and then hope that the games show up for it? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always annoyed listening to gamers complain about, microtransactions and the prices going up. And it's like, guys, I don't think you understand how the market works. Like
mm,
things are not good right now. Like between the pandemic, between just the what's the word I'm looking for? Like not brain drain's kind of the right word, like talent drain of the industry, and then them getting fired, the ones that are there, uh changing in the market, misprojections. I don't know what gaming like Embracer were thinking. Like
yeah.
they saw the growth during the pandemic, we're like, oh, that's sustainable. Totally.
I mean,
Um,
they put that bet in with the Saudis and it did not pay off for them. It's they got a big bill to pay
I
there.
listened to that. I listened to that press conference and that was rough.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, I don't feel bad for the guy, but oof, that was pretty cringe to listen to. But yeah, I don't think people understand that we are lucky to be getting anything right now. And I do think things are kind of getting back on track. Like, I know a lot of rumors are that we'll probably get updates to the consoles for this winter or announced for the next spring or something like that, 'Cause I know the Switch 2 has been coming for a long time now, but I think we're finally getting to that precipice where Nintendo's going to have to pull the trigger. Um,
So yeah, the
but
talk with the Switch
yeah,
2 is that it looks like it's going to be like this time next year, I think, is kind of the thinking. Um,
I feel like I've been hearing that for the last like 4 years now.
yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Although apparently the talk is like the reason people are aware of it now is because developers are developing for it basically, and said that they have
Mhm.
originally the plan was going to be that it was going to be coming out end of this year, but the rumor was that Nintendo wasn't like confident that they would have a big enough first party lineup in that first year. Because they're going to want a Mario and a Mario Kart and probably a 3D Mario and maybe a second tier Zelda game, and like because that's what Nintendo does,
Maybe a
right?
Pokemon.
Yeah, or yeah, exactly. That's 100% right. Yeah, like a Pokemon, exactly. Like they want some big heavy hitter IP in the first like 6 months to a year of that console coming out, and then they can just coast on the rest of it because everyone will have bought the console straight away.
Mhm.
Um, but like the Switch is probably the only one that really, is the only one that kind of I think makes a lot of sense. They kind of their cadence is a bit off from the rest of the industry.
Yeah, again, Nintendo does their own thing. They don't care.
Yeah. And it sells like fucking hotcakes. And I imagine a Switch 2, whatever that ends up being, will sell probably just as well.
And
Um,
and to your against your point earlier, I think Nintendo is actually the only one who makes a profit at some sort because they're behind
yep,
everyone else.
pretty
So their
much.
parts, I believe, are cheaper.
Yep.
So
Nintendo have always been the
they're
exception to that, basically. They make money on every console they sell for the
since the
most part.
GameCube.
Besides the old Cube,
Yeah,
which I love the
because that was
GameCube.
on par with everything else. Oh yeah, no, I that's what I had. I didn't have a PS2. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that was like the one where they were on par with everybody else. And after that, they were like, we're not doing this no more.
Yeah,
Iwata was like,
fair.
no, 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 no. We're gonna make motion controls now. You'll see. You'll
Yeah,
see.
exactly. Yeah, we're moving on. Uh yeah. So it's just some quotes here from the people from Peter Moore just saying like what I'm saying is that the questions are being asked as they have been for the last 20 years. Are we ready to gird our loins for the financially for battle at all costs of development and silicon development? And it's like it's an interesting question, and it's something that's been asked since like the end of the 360 generation. There was talk at the end of the 360 generation of like, do we need consoles anymore? Like, because that was quite a long generation. We had like the Kinect and all that kind of stuff for kind of drawing it out, and people were kind of, PS3, 360, and the Wii, I guess, and everyone was like, is this like the end of consoles? Like, what's the kind of, PC? Because it was basically like you'd have PC, and then you have a consoles would be a bit better than PC for a little while, and then PC would pull ahead over time just because the way that
Hmm.
PCs work. But now it kind of gets to the stage of like, well, PCs are always going to be ahead now. And it's a much harder
Yeah.
sell for someone to go, like, even I'm considering, like, maybe I should upgrade my PC and kind of just focus on that and just leave the series as it is and maybe not jump on the next generation. I mean, you've got, I mean, I'm assuming you have series consoles, Shane.
Oh yeah. Series S.
Like, do you, when you pick that up, like, did you pick that up for any particular reason? Was there,
Nope.
because right, I can't think of like a, when it comes to like a killer app. Like, I mean, obviously I got mine with the Hall of Fame competition, but even now I'm like,
Well, you didn't get
would
yours for
I,
Bright Memory? Like, come on. I mean, like Bright Memory Infinite? Like
true,
that
that's
was
true.
like the
Yeah.
system
Did,
seller for you?
did the
No,
other one
I'm absolutely kidding. I did not like
yeah.
that game.
No, I heard it was not great. Did they ever come? I thought that was
Man,
supposed to be
okay.
like a first like part of a anyway. Um, I guess yeah, like in terms of like killer apps and that kind of stuff, or things that'll convince you to go on to the new console generation. I mean, what would it take for you in terms of like, hey, they're bringing out the new Xbox 720, whatever. Um,
I really wish they'd do that just for the memes,
they
please,
should have.
guys.
They
Like,
really should.
come on.
Um, it's just like yeah, like is there something that would make you want to upgrade?
Not really. I think it's kind of fuzzy now because I've had it for a bit now, but I'm pretty sure I didn't even get the Series S right when it came out.
Mm,
I only got it just because, I mean, why not? I have three Xbox Ones at this point, and the one I was using, like, this is my setup right here. So I've got like a 360 down here, my Xbox One and then my Xbox Series. And I believe I only replaced it because my Xbox One was getting old. Like I had a
Sure.
launch day one labeled Xbox One. So I needed to upgrade. So I was like, I needed to replace the console. So why not? But that's why I went with the Series S and instead of the X. I'm also an Xbox shill though, because I knew that at some point there'd be series only games and I would need it for achievements.
Sure.
So I am a special case. But at the same time, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like it's different. I think exclusives are the only way to really push people to the next generation. I mean, of course, there's gonna be people that want the new hotness and that need
They
that
want their 4K 60 FPS
120.
HDR
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like it's different from back when like the jump from even the GameCube to the Wii was pretty amazing, or the SNES to the N64. We don't really get those jumps anymore. So, I mean, I do wonder how long the tradition, I guess is a good word for it, of
Mm.
just upgrading because there's a new console is going to last, especially with Xbox. Like that's why I say maybe two more consoles tops, because right now I could burn all my Xboxes and then just turn my phone on and play whatever the new game on Game Pass is. Like
True.
you don't need consoles.
And
But
with yeah.
I think the only reason that hasn't become this norm is because even with the original Xbox, Xbox is always a little ahead of their time.
Mm.
And while Xbox, I mean, I used it mostly like throughout 2022. That's all I gamed was mostly on the cloud. But I was also in an area with 5G internet everywhere.
Yeah.
So once that becomes more normal, like even I live in Podunk, Iowa, and where I work is in a downtown area in a building that's 100, in a company that's 150 years old, and the building's ancient too. I'm sure there's ghosts in there. We just finally got 5G internet,
Mm.
like a tower. So I don't know if cloud is big yet. It sounds like it's doing pretty good. And I know PC Game Pass is killing it in Japan right now. But um, I think the next generation will probably be the last one where we really see the guns come out and everyone get their muskets and everyone picks their sides and gets their consoles and it's a big deal because as the internet improves, God, there's trucks outside right now installing fiber in my area.
Right. Yeah,
I
exactly.
think as the internet improves, it's gonna be I feel like Xbox is hedging their bets because they have the money to do so. I mean, they're Microsoft
Yeah.
to be ahead of the curve. And once cloud and internet are all so, what's the word I'm looking for? They're
Ubiquitous.
so, that's the word. That's a perfect word. Ubisoft. Uh, Once they become ubiquitous, it's going to be, they're going to be ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, totally
I
agree.
think I think Peter Moore's onto something where, yeah, I think the next generation is going to be still kind of what we expect, but muted.
It's
And
an
then after
interesting
that, it'll be very interesting.
it's an interesting idea, and I'm kind of with you, right? And Phil Spencer the other week confirmed that the cloud team are looking to bring people's existing libraries over to cloud as well, because currently it's just Game
I
Pass
know.
games. So yeah, can't
Very
wait
excited
for
about
that.
that.
So that'll be fantastic. I'm hoping that that's sooner in the year rather than later. I imagine that's probably something they'll have to talk about at like Summer Games Fest or whatever their show. Like
Mhm.
that'll be a good thing for them to put on the stage on a big PowerPoint presentation. Um, but yeah, you raise a really good point. It's kind of two things, right? It's the availability of internet infrastructure and cloud being the main thing, and then also that like Microsoft like very much position themselves as an iterative thing where it's like yeah, we do the upgrades on the back end, you just play it. Uh,
Mhm.
where Sony was more like, hey, we're doing the whole generational split thing between PS4 and PS5, but then it turns out everything comes to both anyway, and because PS4 is such a big install base, like think about like going back to our original point, like think about how many games are exclusive for PS5 um or series. Like you can't play them on the previous generation of consoles. There are not that many.
Not
Um,
really.
and not like if you're trying to then move on in say 4 years from now, to another generation of consoles, how many people are going to be playing backwards compatible 360 games on on 3 generations later console? Like if you think about like it, I mean, assuming the
I
360
mean, I'm
stuff
sure there's
still
a
sits
reason they
around.
stopped that program. I mean,
Yeah, true. But yeah, exactly. But it's like there's so many Xbox One games that people like. Most of what I play still are, if I look at them on TA, are you can play it on Xbox One, not series exclusive. Like,
mhm.
you get some minor benefits from it, but it just feels like we're just moving into a PC generation thing where it's like, yeah, you go and upgrade your graphics card every now and then. Um, I don't know. Like, I'm not hugely against it. Backwards compatibility, forwards compatibility. Like, it's good that people can play more stuff more easily, but it's getting harder and harder to justify spending, in here over here, like close to $1,000 on, a new console when there's fuck all reason to play anything on it. And, when something launches, you might have, you usually have a relatively light launch library unless you're Nintendo. But we're halfway through the generation here, and I can't think of, I probably couldn't name 10 games that are series exclusive that I'd want to play.
Yeah. And like I said, I think Xbox is just hedging their bets that they're going to be ahead of the boxless revolution that's I'm sure
Mm,
coming. As I mean, look at Netflix and Hulu and all that. Like it's all a Fire Stick. Like you
yeah,
just go and buy it. God, they're like $20 now. You just pop that sucker into your USB port on your, or is it HDMI? HDMI on the HDMI
HDMI,
port
yeah.
on your phone or TV, and that's it. Again, most people like my daughter just watching on her phone all the time. I mean, I think I do think they're hedging their bets on being ahead of the curve while they also play the fields because you kind of have to. We'll
Hmm.
get an Xbox 720, and I'm sure we'll get an Xbox 722, and
Yeah,
then after that, I'll be very interested to see how that goes. Of course, with uh iterative hardware updates in between. Like I'm sure we're gonna hear something about a Xbox Series X or whatever they call it this time,
yeah,
but
double X,
like
yeah,
soon. Triple X, the
yeah.
real hardcore
Yeah,
experience.
I'd buy that just for the name alone, as long as I got the branding on the side of it.
Yeah,
Uh,
they get it. Like they're like, you sold me, Phil Spencer. Good job.
yeah, I'd be very curious. Actually, that's probably an interesting question around like, what does a half step generation look like nowadays? Where the One X kind of made a lot of sense, the whole Scorpio thing, and like
Hmm.
the kind of focus on the 4K and that kind of stuff, because they just didn't, the original Xbox One didn't have the support for that back in 2013. I don't know.
I
It's
guess you ask like, what would they push? Would they push some kind of hardware update? Would they push maybe like a form factor, like a Series X, but the even smaller than a Series
smaller,
S?
yeah.
Like that'd be pretty cool. I mean, because that Series S, I love that thing. Like I love picking it
Mm.
up just because like it's like this thing's so tiny.
Yeah, yeah, it's nuts. I mean, I think the one thing we do know is that it's probably not going to have a disk drive, and that's probably the only thing that we kind of
You
mostly
think
sure
they get rid
about.
of the disk drive in the Series X?
I think
Because
on
I
the
bet
half
that's
step, yeah, I
still a
think
thing.
I get the feeling they probably will, um, or
Hmm.
at least they'll have maybe like a diskless option.
Oh yeah, I guess they could maybe split the SKU for the next X and
Yeah,
just drop the S altogether and make the X disc
because I guess the question is
version.
like for like a Series S, like what do you do for an upstep for something like that? Because upstepping essentially into a Series X basically would be the
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think the S will see a upstep.
no,
I, I
probably
I
not.
think they'll jump on the X and there'll be two SKUs for that,
Yeah, I
and then
think
we'll see
you're
what
probably
that
right.
goes.
I mean, because the
Because
S
yeah, the
really is
S
their
really
cheap
isn't
entry
much of a
point.
different.
Yeah, like the S is their cheap
Hmm.
entry point into the market to get people playing cheaper than for a PlayStation.
They got me. So
Yeah, I mean, I've considered getting one for
the thing
travel,
is
and
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. I do like playing on it. It's my main console
Mm.
just because it's so quick. Like, and then I go back to playing 360 games on my 360, and I'm like, oh, that's right, loading times are a thing. That's
Yeah,
unfortunate. So,
yeah. I can't wait
but
to
yeah,
see. There's kind of two things I'm interested there. It's the what actually changes in between on a half step, and then what do they market? Like what is the thing they yell about? What is the thing that they try to convince you is the reason to pick it up, as opposed to what the reality actually is? Because I
that's what I'm
think they'll
saying.
say a
Like,
lot.
will they push hardware? Will they push form factor? Will they push? Can't imagine what else they do anymore. Like,
Some AI
does it support
bullshit.
Connect
Like,
so you
I
can't
don't
go,
know.
oh, cool stuff? AI, that's the thing. Generative AI is the thing right now, but I don't know
But
how
then
they would
that'd be like
implement that
next
into a
generational stuff,
game.
most likely, right? I don't think they do it far enough
Yeah.
step.
I
But
mean, because what their fringe thing was the cloud for this one, like
yeah,
cloud
right.
computing.
And it seems to be
Crackdown
working.
3. Ooh, that's cool.
It kind of worked, but like it didn't really go anywhere because everyone was like, because no one developed anything exclusively for the Xbox. So yeah,
Rest in peace, Connect.
yeah, I've still got one
Same
game to
thing.
do. Uh, fuck you,
Like
Connect
so many more than
Adventures.
that. Oh my God.
All right. Well, let's move on to our Game Pass updates. So we've had a few changes in the market. We don't currently know what's going to be leaving Game Pass. Hardships, Hard Space Shipbreakers, and Shredders just left, or will just be leaving by the time you hear this. So very
Yeah.
curious to see what's going to be next on the chopping block.
Yeah, I'm loading at
Uh,
the Game Pass app right now to see if maybe it updated while we were
that would,
talking.
yeah, that would be almost perfect if it had, but um, although I feel like it probably will
Breaking
today because
news.
it's Friday over in the States, right? So usually, I mean, you never know.
Yeah,
Um, I don't really want to have
that
to
would be
wait till
nice. I
Monday.
got the time now, so
I really, really wish they'd announced it
yeah,
just
I'm not
maybe a
seeing it.
little bit earlier. Um,
Mm, Nothing yet.
and it looks like I think it was NBA 2K24, I think is leaving after like 6 months, I think it was. Yeah,
Yes.
is which is unusual because usually you have like a year-long contract. So, um, yeah, looks like apparently leaving in August, which is a little quick for that series. But hey,
Ooh,
but I guess they want to make room for the next one to come out because that's usually when August is when game season starts. But in terms of stuff that's recently joined, we've had SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom rehydrated. So I've actually just started playing that. I don't have much to say about it this week. Control got re-added to Game Pass, which is a great get. I believe it's Control and Control Ultimate, so you can play
let's
both of
say I
them.
think it's the Ultimate Edition this time. So
Yeah, I think it's both
good
actually.
for
So,
them.
which is and the Ultimate Edition
Stack
is
that sucker.
yeah, definitely do it. It's fantastic games. MLB The Show 24 is coming on March 19th. Light Year Frontier is coming in March 19th as well. I believe that's early access, or games preview, I should say. Diablo 4 is still coming March 28th. And Botany Manor is coming April 9th, which looks really fun. I'm looking forward to that. Actually, it looks like a nice kind of like chill, kind of like puzzle first person kind of thing going on.
A lot of chill vibe games coming next Game Pass lately.
Game Pass has
A
been
lot of
really
good ones.
popping off. Like, there's been like I can't go like a day without like a new announcement of something coming out to Game Pass or whatever.
Best deal in gaming
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
by far.
still
By
true.
far.
I play so much Game Pass shit at the moment. But speaking of which,
I
let's get
really
into what we
should.
actually have been playing. I'll quickly go first and just rattle off a couple of things. Speaking of Game Pass, we're doing our themed month, which is basically playing games that are adaptations. So if you haven't heard, basically we're picking games that are based on books, movies, TV shows, that kind of stuff, and trying to give them a little bit of love. We've kind of gone from there being a lot of licensed games back in the day to them kind of not being financially viable, and so you get a lot fewer of them. But also stuff that's kind of based around books and comics and other kinds of fun stuff like that that aren't directly like tie-ins to existing properties of, hey, it's Cars 3 the game or whatever. But having said that, I did play Paw Patrol World.
Ooh, I heard that's really
It's
hard.
yeah, definitely going on my trophy list for a completion. No, it's actually it's the most. I was talking with this with Cameron, who unfortunately couldn't make the show this week. But he loved it. He said it was great. The game literally is a fetch quest of you can play the game with one button, which is basically go up to something and just keep pressing X until the thing happens. It's very, very simple, but it is also an open world game. So it's kind of like you just kind of wander around and just like do fetch quests and just collect things, as opposed to the more like level based structure of some of the other ones. So it's probably like the most like kid friendly kind of thing. Um, I think it was fine. Like I played it over the weekend while I was away and just kind of on my PC, just while I had some downtime. And it only took me like 3 or 4 hours. Easy game. Technically counts for the theme event because Paw Patrol is a TV show, apparently. Uh,
And a
but
movie.
yeah, it's on Game Pass. It just recently got added. It's relatively chill. I also just started that SpongeBob game I talked about, the rehydrated one. Don't really have much to say there. Like I've only done like the tutorial, but it looks fine. I'll probably put some time into it this weekend, but it's been a bit of a struggle to be like, oh yeah, I should definitely be playing this SpongeBob game over something I'd rather actually be playing.
I remember the
Um,
internet really popping off for that one when it was announced.
yeah, I
So I
mean, like I
thought it was
think,
kind of like a beloved entry in the series, but I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge SpongeBob guy myself, so I guess we'll see how it goes. I'll probably report back next week on how it went. And I also started MechWarrior 5, which is again not part of our themed event, but I just wanted something fun to play. And our good friend and community member Baron von Neumann was like, "Hey, anyone need help with the co-op with it? I'll get it done before he's finished with the game." So I started the game up, did the first act. He helped me with through some of the co-op missions, and he was like, "Cool, have fun." And I'm like, "Oh shit, okay, now I need to build a mech and figure out what I'm doing." And you got to manage a team of people and a team, and you got to manage their mechs, and you got to pick what missions to go on and make sure you don't get too damaged and pick the right salvage rights. There's a lot of systems in this game. I'm probably overthinking it, but it can be a little bit overwhelming. But I haven't. I think I've only put like 3 or 4 hours into it so far. Yeah, 4 hours so far. So, and it's like a 60 to 80 hour game according to TA. So, I'll probably have more to say once I've actually played a lot more of it. Um,
I remember testing that one on my alt account. That seemed like a cool game.
yeah, I think like from like mechanically, I think it's really really cool in terms of like just the big fuck off mech, like very much the kind of um hard science version of Armored Core, where Armored Core is about being kind of zippy and kind of, using boosted jets and
Hmm.
getting laser swords and shit, where this is like, no, these are just walking tanks. Like you're slow, methodical, lock-ons and rocket launchers and beam weapons and that kind of stuff, and like a lot of like long range stuff. And repairing every fucking hard point that takes damage, or making sure your ammo is not in places where it's going to get blown up, or that kind of stuff. Um, But yeah, I'll report back once I've played a bit more of it. But Shay, it's been a while since you've been on the show, so anything in particular you want to run through?
Let's see. I'm on day 4101 of my streak. So I got my achievement right before I got on the podcast because I want to make
Hmm.
sure. I was like, I didn't know if Matt's going
Smart.
to talk
Yep.
for the next 6 hours and kill my streak or not. So,
There is a
I
possibility.
want to make
Yep, it
sure.
has happened.
Um, I'm also partaking in the event for the Discord, and I'm doing Green Lantern, which I just started last night. Oh yeah, I got.
Got to yeah, you got to get your
Sorry,
outfit.
I forgot to wear my regalia. So
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
yeah, there we go. So the game's okay. Like, it's not terrible. You know,
Yeah, I
it's
I
like I
thought
didn't
like
expect it to be like a beat 'em up kind of game.
yeah, I was surprised at how not shit it was when I played it back in the day. Which for a
It
game based on
it
that
was.
that terrible movie,
I've never seen the movie actually. I was like, I'd
oof.
rather watch Deadpool on loop than watch that movie. So.
Yeah, fair.
And I can watch the extended version of the second movie and watch him shoot Ryan Reynolds for even reading the script. So
Yep.
comes
Yep.
full circle that way. Um, yeah, no, it's not bad. It's definitely annoying at first when you don't really know what to do. Ranged
Hmm.
enemies, man, screw that. Oh, also screw developers that want to make it so you can be attacked while you're attacking. That's
Oh
always
yeah,
annoying,
that's
like
bullshit.
mid
Yeah.
combo or mid grab or something. But then I realized I could just grab people with my magic green ring and throw them off the edge. So that helps a lot.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so okay, I can't. I'm blind without my glasses on, so
For
it's
for
just
our
it was
audio
me the whole time.
listeners, for our audio listeners, you need to go check out the vid for this. I'm gonna see if I can get a screenshot for the thumbnail.
Nope, don't do that. Let's see. Other than that, lately I've been on. God, when was the last time I was on? I might have been doing the TA bingo event at the time.
Yeah, that probably sounds
Well,
about
I
right.
finally got around to actually cleaning up that event. Finally. So like I blew through what? I blew through Crisis 3, Blood Knights, Brothers in Arms Hell's Highway, Neo Geo Battle Coliseum, Vampire Survivors, Might and Magic, Clash of Heroes, Lego Indiana Jones 2, Race Pro, yeah, a bunch of games lately, especially the last like what 3 weeks. I've been really playing a
Yeah, I've been
lot.
seeing a lot of. You've been showing a lot in
So
the completions, in the completions channel.
yeah, I was a little slow there for a bit. I wasn't gaming a whole lot. But lately I've been really digging in and yeah, knocking all those games out. I think the only game I have left from that event is Castlevania, Castlevania something. I forget what it's called.
The
It's the hard one. I'm not looking forward to it.
oh yeah,
It's like a
yeah. I
yeah. It's not
recently
the not
recently went back and tried to do that. What was it?
Mirror
Why
of
am I
Fate or something like
blanking on it?
that.
Mirror of Fate. Yeah, the 1.5 one.
I'm
Yeah.
bringing it to the list. It's yeah. It's loading. Yep. Shadow Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate HD.
Oh boy.
I'm dreading that because the final achievement is like what a boss rush.
On the hardest difficulty. Yep.
Scroll. Yeah, finish the boss rush mode on hardcore.
Yep. I still haven't
I'm
done it.
sure that'll be fine.
I haven't finished on even on hard yet.
Well,
So I've
let's
been
revisit that rage conversation in a
yeah,
couple
like
weeks. But
maybe we can inspire each other to actually go back and do it. It only has a 5.4 a 5.5 TA ratio, so it can't be that bad, right?
only. Oh yeah, no, that's fine. And I'm sure it's super easy. Yeah, no, I'll probably do that actually. I'll probably do that after Green Lantern. I'm gonna hate it. Watch Dogs been a list, but while the servers are still up, uh the matchmaking is broken.
Hmm.
So I can join, I think only the co-op missions work
Right.
and the private racing, both of which don't have well, the co-op does have achievements,
Does,
but
yeah, a
the
couple.
private racing doesn't have achievements. Everything else doesn't work. So I've actually been bugging Ubisoft on Twitter every 2 weeks to see if they're getting on that. So I'm hoping that gets fixed.
They usually are pretty good
I
about
think they
fixing some stuff, but yeah.
on a 360 game, I hope
Yeah, it's a
so, but
little,
I guess we'll see. Non-backwards compatible Xbox 360 game, mind you.
yeah, true.
So, but again, the servers are still up. Like they work fine. It's just
Hmm.
that the particular matchmaking isn't working. So I don't know how high on the priority list that's going to be, but I really hope so because I really want to get that done.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I actually put it again. I'm a completionist. I'm
Hmm.
usually really good about
This is a
making
safe
sure I can
space,
finish
Shane.
my games. Yeah, Enchanted Arms, I put on my tag, the Asian version, and that
Oh
apparently has an
no.
unobtainable.
Yeah, it
I didn't know
does.
that. I
Yeah,
was
it
so annoyed when
does.
I found that out. I can't believe that, but I'll knock that out probably actually after Green Lantern because that's a fairly short game. I remember doing the English version. So yeah, other than
Yeah,
that,
because
I would love to
there's
play
three
Power World if
versions
it
of that
worked.
game, right? There's Asian, Japan,
Is there?
and yeah, because I think there's a JP version as well.
Scroll. Yes, there is. There's a Japanese
Yeah,
version as
the
well. That's
Japanese version
probably
can
what
be
I thought I
completed,
had.
but just not the Asian version.
Mm, mm. Well, I didn't know that at the time. So, fun fact from software, really? Oh,
Yep, back in the
okay.
day.
3 unobtainables. Okay, well, it's fine. Um, yeah, and then I would love to play Power World more. The game's great,
Hmm.
fantastic. Can't play it. It's still broken on Xbox. So,
Oh, really? Oh, they still, yeah, I know they've got patches in the works, right? But
they fixed the general server crashing, but auto saving still doesn't work all the time. Like you'll be
ah,
playing and it auto saves as you play because it's a open world survival game, and
hmm.
once in a while it'll just stop saving for you and not work anymore. And during the last patch, they announced that they'd fixed the crashing. I was like, sweet. Jumped on, immediately ran into the autosave bug. I was like, no, I'm not sitting there. I'm not playing that. So I'll get to that at some point. But that game is great, by the way. I don't know if you guys have been talking about that much, but that game is fantastic.
It's kind of missed me a little
And
bit.
Just
So
Dance.
I might, yeah, I think maybe once it's kind of up and running again, I might jump onto it.
I wasn't planning. I mean, I was planning on playing it at some point,
Yeah,
but my daughter like legit just flat out asked me if I'd play with her. I'm like, all right,
yeah,
well, sure. I guess you got to twist my arm about it. I'll play a Pokemon open world survival game. That sounds
yeah,
great
fair.
with achievements. So, and yeah, we had a great time for a long time, but about 4 or 5 hours in, like if I loaded my game right now, the textures look like it could probably run on a GameCube. It looks terrible.
Yikes.
And of course, then the crashing, which again they supposedly fixed, and then now the autosave issue, which is like 2 patches new. So yeah, I hope they get it on top. Did you? You didn't mention the news. Did you hear that Pocket Pair, they've actually gone on record being like, "Hey, we made too much money. Like
Wait,
we're a
what?
small studio. We we don't know what to do with all this money, guys."
Oh no.
Like that came out today. They're like, "Yeah, what do we do with all this?
That's
Like
hilarious.
how do we handle this?"
Fucking take a
So I mean,
vacation
good
is
for
what you do.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you give all your guys bonuses and go on a vacation. But
exactly.
they
Yeah,
instead they announced that a new raid coming and new pals and all kinds of stuff. So good for them.
I'm glad it
But
sounds like their game has legs because my biggest worry is that it's going to be like a flash in the pan and people are just going to forget about it quite quickly.
yeah, what
But
was it? Temtem. Temtem's
yeah,
kind of like that,
yeah,
where I remember that
right.
being a big deal, and I was pretty hyped when it came to Xbox, and then it just
And now they're
stopped. In
doing like
fact,
a
I think they
Vampire
just
Survivors clone.
announced. Yeah, I think they just announced that they're like done with development on that game,
Yeah,
and they're like, all right, well, bye
they're
guys.
taking out all the microtransactions out of the game, and they're like, "Yep, just leaving it
Yep.
as is." And now they're going to do like a little like brawler kind of Vampire Survivors spin-off thing. So
Does that kind of game have a like title yet? Vampire Survivors, because that
just
there's
Vampire
a lot of clones of
Survivors
that game now.
ripoff, I think is the
I heard
official
garlic like, I was like,
garlic
I
like.
don't like that.
Vampire like doesn't really work either, right? Survivors like also
Well,
doesn't
no.
work. I
Like,
don't
are we
know.
talking like Vampire Survivors? Are we talking, Masquerade? Like, what kind of
Yeah,
vampires
right.
are we
There's a lot
talking
of
about?
vampire games out there. If we're talking,
Twilight? Twilight would be great.
mm,
Where's my Twilight open world game? I want that
that's a good idea, actually.
someday,
I mean,
hopefully.
like this again, like we were talking about, like theme stuff. That would have been if they'd done that would be perfect for this month. Uh, I've also been doing a bit of
Man,
Vampire Survivors. Speaking of that,
I
the
forget when did you start gaming?
when did I start gaming? Like as a child.
Yeah.
Um, my first video game was the original Crash Bandicoot on PlayStation 1. So
Okay.
probably 98, 97,
So
98.
you
I
probably
would
don't
have.
remember like just how many licensed titles there were during like the NES and SNES
No, like
era.
again, like I was
Oh
first of
my
all not
God.
born, and second of all, like my parents basically tried their best to keep me away from
Come
video
on,
games.
man. I'm not that old. Jeez, come on.
My
Could
my
you
parents tried
not? I know I don't look
very
it, but
yeah, fair. No, you're looking great. You're looking great for 50, mate. Don't worry about it. Um,
oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I had to dye my hair before I came in tonight,
I
so
mean, yeah, you're
I
gonna be on
appreciate it.
camera, so I get it. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Got
my
the hair
parents
plugs in,
tried.
you can see.
I mean, I'm already worried about like the great because I got the widow's peak going on, and I'm like, is this my hairline? Was this getting worse? I need to go back and look at old episodes and see how I'm doing. Um, I was yeah, my parents knew that I would like was basically near level autism in terms of when it came to video game stuff because I was just obsessed with like PC games and all that kind of stuff back in the day. But they tried to keep me away from console gaming for as long as possible until it probably would have been like 98, 99. Like it was relatively close to when the PlayStation 2 came out. Because I remember that Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and 3 had already been released because I had all three of those. And Gran Turismo and all that kind of stuff. But like those were the first video games like that and Spyro. So like I was a Sony guy all the way through, like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and then achievements just got me on the 360. Because if the PlayStation 3 had
Yeah,
launched with trophies,
I
I
know that
probably
goes.
still would be playing Sony consoles right now. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but
So I mean, even the
yeah,
PlayStation 1 though, there were a lot of licensed titles for that
there were a
console
lot of
too.
licensed titles for that.
But
Yeah,
it was almost obscene on the earlier consoles where like any TV show, any cereal, any toy had a
yeah.
game on the consoles, and it's wild. Like I actually bought the Garbage Pail Kids game that came
Oh
out
my
on
God.
Xbox One just because I was like, that's so my era. Like I remember when that was the norm. Like there would be some Monster High platformer, and then after that there'd be a Bratz platformer, and obviously not back then, but whatever
I
is
mean,
popular
I
now,
did
there'd
play a
probably be like
Bratz
some.
game recently on the Xbox, but yes, they do still
Yeah,
exist.
I did Monster High too. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that as an example of
Yeah.
modern toys. I don't know. What do you kids like anymore? My daughter plays with rocks and wire. I don't know what kids like anymore. So,
So survival
game
crafting games,
kids.
I guess, is probably the correct answer there. Get it
Oh
playing
yeah, that's
the
right.
long dark.
They're all doing TikTok dances on Fortnite.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, no, it's wild to see all those licensed titles. Just go look at a list. It's. I remember playing a Cheetos game. That was like one of my favorite games. Oh, Domino's Pizza game. I love
The
that game as a kid.
fuck.
Oh my God, like that and Cool Spot 7 Up.
That one I do know, yes.
Yep.
And Pepsi Man.
Did they ever get? Oh well, that's a PS1 game, but yes, I remember
Yeah.
playing that too. Did they ever have like a Tim Tam game or anything
I
over in
don't
like Australia?
think so. I don't think Biscuits
Like
really made the jump over. Like he didn't get you like Chex
I
Quest equivalent.
I'm about to say there's a Chex Quex. I mean,
Yeah,
like
that's the one that I
was
can
there?
think of.
I'm sure there's an Oreo game somewhere too.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know. I didn't know if Australia ever jumped on that bandwagon or New Zealand. I don't know if does New Zealand have like brands like or like known for New Zealand?
Not really. Most of
Like
them are
Vegemite?
Australian owned by this point.
Australia, yeah, Australia's like Vegemite and Tim Tam. I don't think they had games. They might have,
No,
but I don't know.
no, yeah. But like also like New Zealand, Australia just didn't really have game development scenes back in the day. Like it wasn't. You couldn't. It was difficult for a company in this country to go and hit up someone locally to build you some piece of crap game. Like we just didn't have the home computing
Pretty
thing that
sure if
was sort of.
America was on top of it, everyone else was. That's how the world works.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
exactly
pretty
yeah. It's
sure
all
there
it's
had to be some
exactly the
kind of
same
game. Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
It's
So,
a monolith.
yeah.
Everything's the
Thank
same.
you. Thank you. Apology accepted. I accept
Uh,
your lack of globalism. I appreciate it.
the 90s. Um, but yeah, it was
But yeah, no, that's what I've been playing.
yep, that's fair. It's a good list. It's a good list. I'm looking forward to hear more about some of the other stuff coming up as well. Um, yeah, we really got to get on that Castlevania
Yeah.
game, don't we? Um, and
Yeah.
then in terms of stuff that I've been playing, so I did the other SpongeBob game that was Games with Gold, SpongeBob's Truth or Square, backwards compatible, Games with Gold, I believe. It was fine.
Oh yeah, I did that.
It's like a 10 level long game, and you have to kind of do it twice for all the achievements, but pretty straightforward. Um,
Yeah, I think I've done two SpongeBob games. It was that one and the Underpants Slam. I did
oh,
that
okay,
one.
yeah, I haven't done that one yet. Oh, you know what? I just
Don't.
realized I have the Nicktoons MLB game that I need to finish on the 360. I've got like two achievements left. I'm just
Well, wait, I think I did that one.
I'm fucking bad at baseball. Like I think I need to get like a
Okay.
triple play. I think is like the last achievement I need. Or it's like I think one of them is like get a triple play and then like bat a perfect game, and I think that's pretty much it.
Oh, I did do that one. Wow. All right. Well, I don't remember anything about it, but I definitely did that one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that technically counts, right? Because it's all just licensed shit. Um, well, we might end up playing multiverses based on it coming back and all that kind of stuff, right?
I will absolutely. I did a Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 during that free weekend, and that was
Oh yeah.
definitely lit a fire, man. I miss those kind of games. I was Smash Bros. All the way back in the day. So
Ah,
if Multiverses comes out with decent content and everything else, I'm probably gonna jump on that
yeah, I
one.
may jump on it as well, actually. Um, I talked already about Battle for Bikini Bottom. I also finished Mafia Definitive Edition. So I started and finished, I think,
I
this
saw
week.
that.
Uh, I I really like it, it's really good. It's not great, but I think that when you compare it with the original game, like the work that they've done in the remake is fantastic. Like they've basically were like, hey, like take everything from the original game. Let's take the engine that we spent all this time building and just basically build it from the ground up. And like kind of fix some of the story stuff, make the game look good, make it play a lot better, add some like quality of life improvements. The the infamous part obviously is having to play it on classic difficulty and doing that damn race that everyone talks about in chapter 5.
I was just gonna ask, like, I've heard of a race. That's all I know
Yeah,
about that
so
game.
there's a race car driver. The driver gets jumped by a rival gang, and so you basically get subbed in as the replacement, and you have to win the race on the hardest difficulty. And the car
No thanks.
controls like absolute shit. And I was talking
Well,
to
I'm sure you did great. You love racing games,
yeah,
so
right, exactly. So I did okay. I managed to get it in half an hour. And it took me about 20 or so attempts. I definitely had I did like 10 and I was like, I need to take a break from this before I actually rage quit because it's ridiculous. It's like it's bullshit. Like it is 100% bullshit. It might yeah, like this it's like people cite it as one of the worst like complete left field bullshit things in a game in history. Um
mhm.
because
Yeah,
it's
no, I've
just
heard.
so out of left pocket. Like you're like what is this? Yeah, Cameron's like, yeah, take a corner too fast, spin out, hit another car, spin out. Don't brake too much, spin out. Like it's because like again, like it's an old car, doesn't have ABS. So if you hold on the brake, you are just gonna fishtail. Um, uh, there is a kind of a trick you can use where because the game has the ability to you can press in the directions and press A to kind of like ram the car in certain directions. You can use it to make
Mhm.
tighter turns and to kind of correct yourself just a little bit in a way that makes it slightly easier to like Tokyo drift around corners that you should not be able to in a 1930s car. Um, so yeah, I managed it in about half an hour, which according to Aftos is ridiculous because it took him about a week.
Oof,
Uh,
that's a lot.
yeah. So I'll chalk some of it up to luck. I'll chalk some of it up to being ready for it, and I'll chalk some of it up to reading a lot of guides and watching some videos just to make sure that I knew exactly what I was doing. But it was definitely the hardest part of that game. The combat on Classic is also quite unforgiving. Uh, it's that thing where it's like you take a lot of damage, there's a health bar system, and also if you reload, you lose whatever's in your clip. So you got to make sure you don't reload too early. But yeah, it was, but I think overall it was actually a really, really good game. And I think, yeah, the other problem with it is that, and I think if you go back and watch when I talked about Mafia 2, ages ago, it has the same problem of it's a game that's set in an open world because, you drive from location to location and there's a city, but you don't need, it doesn't really benefit from having an open world be part of the game because like the story missions are like story mission, story mission, story mission. It isn't like you drive to the story mission. It's like you finish one, the next chapter starts, the next story mission just starts. Because that's all there is to the game. There aren't really like any open world events, quote unquote, or anything like your sort of typical GTA game. But there is like a free roam mode because there are a shitload of collectibles to pick up. I think there's like over 100 of them because you got to collect like 20 of one comic, 20 like I think it's like 80 comics to collect, 50 foxes to find, another 20 like cigarette cards to find. Like there's so much shit to pick up in this game. And it really just doesn't add much to the game. Like it feels like padding. It feels like a lot of padding. And the second game had the problem too. Cameron asks, how do you feel playing Mafia 2 knowing that your dude gets killed in the next game, making the whole thing meaningless? Well, I mean, like, spoilers, that's how the game ends, is basically like if you've played Mafia 2, the second to last mission of that game is you killing the protagonist from the first game after he's escaped. Yeah, like years later. And the first game, but the first game like knows because the first game, this is a remake, they know that happens. So they remade it with the characters from the second game doing that thing. And actually, I think it pays off really well. I think like the story from a story perspective, it works really well. And that classic, like this, if I had to explain it, like if we're drawing that parallels, I think that Mafia 1 is very much, it's basically Goodfellas, like guy uninvolved in crime, gets pulled into a crime family thing, gets involved in shit, gets way over his head. Yeah, it's and then like Mafia 2 is closer to like The Godfather Part 2 with like, kind of like someone coming up in the world and trying to kind of do their thing, but also doing anyway, I won't get into it, but yeah, Cameron also points out that it's like, yeah, there's a lot of interconnectivity between like, the character you play from the second game is also available in the third game as like a one of your like quest giver people who you can team up with or kill or whatever. Third game's not that great. But anyway, getting back to the point, I think Mafia, it's really great that they've done this for Mafia. And I definitely think it's worth playing. But you kind of have to go and being like, okay, I know I'm going to deal with some bullshit. I'm going to deal with a bullshit race and I'm going to have to do a shitload of collectible finding. But outside of that, like it only took me like 15 hours and I had a really good time with it. And Mafia was one of those games that like on the PlayStation 2, like I saw it in like magazines and stuff. And I was like, oh, that looks really cool. But also I'm a child and shouldn't be playing games as violent. And also have no money. So I'll probably never get a chance to play it. So it is really cool that they kind of redid it for modern audiences.
I mean, I almost started it a few times, but that race, that's notorious. I was like,
but I think you'll get
not.
through it. Like I think that like it is very much like a bash your head against it, and it's very quick to restart. Thankfully, like that's kind of the saving grace.
That's always nice.
I wanted to talk to you about Indiana Jones 2. Lego Indiana Jones 2: The Adventure Continues. How did you tackle that game? Because I just started it as part of this event and I finished like the story stuff. And now it's like, hey, start doing open world stuff. And I'm like, okay, I need to get characters to do certain abilities, but to unlock some characters, I need some vehicles. And to get some vehicles, I need to do some puzzles. And to do some puzzles, I need certain characters. And I kind of feel like I'm in a bit of a loop of like, I don't know how I should be tackling this.
Yeah, I don't know if people have played. Like I'm kind of late to Lego games. Like Lego Indiana Jones 2 is literally. Oh, I played Lego Movie. Either way, my understanding of Lego games was usually like you play a level, and then you unlock characters, and you play the next level, unlock characters, and you go back to the levels with the characters you unlocked to get stuff.
Yeah,
Lego Indiana Jones 2, I think, is how modern Lego games kind of work,
kind of.
where
Yeah.
you go through the levels. There's nothing to pick up in the levels. You can just play
Hmm.
the levels, the story levels, and just get them out. And then you go back for, I think they call them treasure levels,
Yeah.
to replay them with additional abilities and stuff. And then there's like open world, what's the word, like races. There are some puzzles. There's green, red, and blue block items to destroy. Honestly, what I would do is play through the story, unlock the hub, and
Yep.
then just start doing what I can.
Mm.
Because then you unlock the guy with the spear, and then you unlock the guy with the bombs, and then the guy with the girl that can jump, because girls can jump, because that's a thing.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and just kind of do that.
It
How
just
far
feels
have you
like
gotten?
I don't know. Like I finished the story, I unlocked the hub, and I started doing a little bit of like the Raiders hub, and then it was like, hey, like to get all the vehicles, you need to do this race, or you need to do this treasure level, and I'm like, I feel like I'm jumping all over the place. Like I just want to do like I was planning on just doing like, okay, just do all the levels, and then like do the story levels, and then do like the treasure levels, and then like the bonus levels, and then do all the hub stuff afterwards. But then it's like, oh, but you might need this character from this one or this one anyway.
Mhm.
It just like I
Yeah,
just want to,
there's
yeah,
no straight line through
yeah,
it.
okay,
You kind of do have to go with however you get them. Just be warned, the only skill-based thing is the spaceship race on
right.
the final Crystal Skull level. That UFO controls like someone stuck a horse in a wall, and you have to kind of control. It's real bad.
Oh, gotta
Real
have
bad.
that to look forward to. Yes,
Yeah. Otherwise, I did that first because I was like doing the hardest thing first, and
smart.
then after that, the rest of the planes kind of are fine. But yeah, it does feel like that. I think you're doing it the right way.
Okay. I just want to
There's
make sure I
no.
wasn't completely lost because the TA guide or like the guides I've been following have not been super helpful because they've been kind of like, here's a list of all the things in this area. I'm like, well, it kind of would have been good if I had like a, I don't know, a lot of it's like, hey, reference this list for this or this list for this. And I'm just like, fuck, just give me it all in one place so I can just kind of go through it one by one. But if it's, yeah, it doesn't sound like that's
Yeah,
a good option.
I'd say it's because they're trying to make content. Of all the Lego games I've played so
Fair.
far, I would say Lego Indiana Jones 2, you don't need any kind of
Yeah.
guide.
You just kind of figure it
Like
out.
you might
Yeah.
need help finding. I mean, I'm trying to think because I remember there was something I was stuck on, like a block or something I couldn't find. The treasure chests.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out how to unlock one of those in the hub world. But besides that, since treasure levels, like as soon as you walk in, it goes, "Hey, you're gonna need like jumper guy and bomb guy to finish this." You
Right.
just
Okay.
walk
That's
back out and
handy.
leave.
Yeah.
So, so there's really no not set way, but like there's no guide really needed because
Hmm.
you just go do something else then
Yeah.
and figure out what you need to do. I'm sure someone could make it more efficient and like tell you, okay, do this, but
Yeah.
it's an
It
old
is
game
what
at
it
this
is. I
point,
mean,
so I don't think they're gonna do it.
I spent a little bit of time with it, but I need to. I'll go back. I just kind of it wasn't really grabbing me. Lego games. I mean, I recently did the Lego Ninjago game and actually had a decent time with it. And I was kind of hoping for something
Hmm.
maybe a bit more structured like that game was, but that's also there's quite a
Well,
big
again,
time difference between those games. Like Lego Ninjago came out in
I about to say,
2017, and Indiana Jones was 2009. So yeah,
yeah. So like for instance, I mean, I started it back in like August of 2023 and finally finished it in 20 February. So it
right.
didn't grab me really either.
Yeah, fair.
As I was saying during while I was streaming it, I'm like, man, I'm pretty sure these games got better.
Yeah, they
Like
definitely did.
because I've only done like Lego Indiana Jones 1, which is very classic Lego, and then
Hmm.
Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, same thing.
Also same, yeah.
Batman, same thing. I think the more recent ones I did was the Lego movie ones, but
Right.
they were also very similar.
Mm.
I remember when this was all happening because I'm old, that Lego Batman 3 is kind of where it kicked off.
Yeah,
Like that
but they
was
had
like
the
the
open
first one
world
people were like,
thing.
"Oh,
Yeah,
yeah." They're like, "Oh, okay, this is different." And then of course Lego Avengers and Lego DC villains, and it's just been going on since then.
there's so
But
fucking many of them. Yeah.
yeah, Lego Harry Potter I think was a big one everyone liked,
Hmm.
the collection or whatever. Uh, yeah.
I think
I
my
think you're doing it fine. It's grueling, but
Well, the nice thing
it's
about the
as
later
straightforward as it
games
can
in the
be.
series is that you could usually like hold down the Y button and switch to whatever character you wanted. Whereas in this one, it's like, no, you got to go find them in the open world, and you're like, come on, like really?
Yeah, I noticed that feature was missing too. Because I was trying to play like
Yeah.
the other games I had played, and I was like, oh, I need to go to this level and switch to the girl to jump. But then I
Mhm.
realized that after a while, the game will just if you have the two characters you need, because you only need two powers each level, it'll set them to it. And then if like say you need jumper guy and whip guy, but then you need a spear later, it'll have a spear you can pick up later in the level. So yeah, I guess overall it's fairly straightforward, but you might just need to look up once in a while if you can't find the last red flower in Crystal Skull 1 or something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
So, but I'm doing it for the theme, so I've got another 2 weeks to do it, so I'll probably spend some more time on it.
Yeah.
Um,
It's overall easy. It just took me forever to get around to because I don't like the Lego games, I'm realizing. Salud.
that's kind of where I landed, where I was like, actually, I'm not having the best time with this. But I only had 3 Lego games in my backlog. It was Ninjago, this, and Star Wars Clone Wars, so Star Wars 3. So I figured I'm going to try and
I
get all 3
think
of those done.
I think I only own like the original trilogy, like the 360 version of Lego Star Wars,
Hmm.
and I don't know if any others were given. Oh, and I own superheroes, Marvel superheroes,
Oh,
because I
right,
bought
yeah.
that when it came out. Because I was like, oh, that's neat. And I think those are the only two I have left.
Hmm.
And then I probably won't be playing them anymore because I don't like them
Yeah.
very much.
Well, I don't know how many more of them they make these days anyway. I also
What
have
was
been
the
playing.
last one?
That's a good question, actually. It's been because what it's the Traveler's Tales, the guys who make them, right? Let's have a
Yeah, they
look.
did
What's the
Lego
last?
Worlds. They did that one where you actually like to build Lego sets, like the puzzle one,
Oh, yeah, that one was
Lego
actually quite good.
Explorer or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, I've heard the good
Oh,
things, and that's a short completion.
Skywalker Saga is the most recent one they did back in 2022.
Right.
Like,
That
which
was
they
supposed to be
put
pretty
all
good
9
too.
movies together, and you play that game for 100 years because
Hmm.
there's so much fucking content. Yeah, it's an 80 to 100 hour game, which is way too much for a Lego game.
Oh, that's way too much for a Lego game. That sounds awful.
Yeah, yeah, not a fan. Um, also been playing a little bit more Dead Island 2 with Brad and Aftos. Having a pretty good time with it, but we're only doing it once a week and for a few hours because they don't usually get started till about 9:30, 10 o'clock my time, so we only usually get a couple hours in. But we beat the first boss, having a pretty fun time with it, but seems pretty straightforward, but no rush there. But that is our book club game for the month, so I'm hoping to make a bit more progress on it before we finish up March.
Yeah, I did that at my more recent Game Pass tests. That was a cool game.
Yeah.
But I really like the first games too. So I'm actually looking forward to when they announce that's leaving so I can get to it because that looks
Fair.
very fun.
Um, I also tried Anuchard. I don't know, Anushard,
Oh, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
which recently got added to Game Pass a few weeks ago. It's a very basic top-down sort of Zelda style dungeon crawler brawler kind of thing where you solve some very straightforward puzzles and do some very straightforward combat. It it's been my like PC game to play when the TV's in use. So I'm chapter 4 or 5 of actually let me just check. I think there's like 10 or 11 chapters. So maybe about halfway through to a third of the way through. It seems fine. I don't like it's relatively light touch. Like it's all just like dialogue boxes and some character stuff. Like there's no facial animations or anything. Like it's very, very basic.
Hmm.
And it's also like 5 to 6 hours. So I'll probably get it done over the next few weeks. Just kind of my bit of like a chill game. It also has an assist mode. Like you can change how much damage you take. You can reduce it by 50% or 100%. So you can just kind of walk your way through the game as long as you know where the collectibles are. They also just came out with a walkthrough for it on TA, so that makes it nice and easy.
Always helps.
Um, and then the last two, I finally went back to Need for Speed Unbound. I talked about that a few weeks ago and how I was basically not enjoying it. Cameron recommended it for our driving month last month, and so I started it and
I'll
kind of
listen to him.
yeah, I know, right? But it's like I finished Burnout Paradise. He's like, hey, Criterion also made this one, and I was like, all right, well, I'll give it a go. He's like, the only thing I don't like about it is the music. The music is not my taste of music, but I think music is
Oh,
fine.
that's right. I remember him complaining about that
Yeah,
when
it's
he did it.
it's fine. Like I understand why Cameron doesn't like it because it's definitely not his kind of music at all. There's too many wub wubs in it. Uh,
Boom, 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 boom.
yeah, there's a lot of that. Uh, I like kind of like the art style.
Sweet.
It's not the format of the game. I realize is the thing that's not grabbing me. So I spent a lot of time with it. I finished the online at least, so I got that out of the way. Thanks to Left for Legacy, community member and Patreon supporter, for teaming up with me on that. So we got that done. So the online's done, and then I did the prologue for the single player, which unlocks kind of the world map and went around and getting all the collectibles. So all I have left to do now is basically finish the story and do all of the like 3-star, all of like the little mini event like activity things. But to do those, you need like a really fast car for the most part. And I'm just like, I'm not really digging the format of this game, where the idea is that like during the day you go around and do races and get money, but you also build up heat level. And so it's kind of like the star system, where it's like if you get 1 star, they send 1 kind of car after you, 2 stars. Again, like the more stars you have, the more kind of cops they send after you. And so the daytime races give you a little bit of cash and a little bit of notoriety, but the nighttime races give you a lot more of both. But if you get busted, then you lose all of your money that you got from that night. But if you go back and bank it, then you can't go out and do any more races that night. And so basically you need to have enough money to enter the event at the end of the week, along with having a car that's fast enough to win that event. So you're kind of balancing, or like, how much risk am I going to put into like getting money for the event to make sure I have the buy-in, and then how much extra money do I have to put into my car to make sure it's the best version of this car. And so there are 4 events. You need like a B car, an A, an S, and an S plus, basically, I think, to get into the finale. And the finale, I believe, has like a race for each 4 of them. Thankfully, being an EA Play member and doing all the collectibles, you get like, they give you some free cars. So I've got all the categories covered already. But I'm just like, I struggle with like the completionist FOMO thing, where I'm like, how many of these races should I be doing a night? Like, I was like, well, I could just do every race, but that means that like I'm going to be at like notoriety level 5. And so the minute I get into a cop chase, I'm going to be, a tank is going to come down and fucking ruin my goddamn day, and I'm going to lose all my money. But I could just do like no races, but then I feels like I'm not playing the game, and maybe I'm going to miss out on the money that I'm suddenly going to be, short of money that I suddenly need for some shit. So I don't know. I'm struggling with a little bit of like the decision paralysis thing. It's also just a real pain to be driving around the open world and just avoiding cops all the time. And it's just like, I get it. Like, I'm playing a Need for Speed game, so I get it. Like, the cop thing is important. But I've just come off playing like, Burnout Paradise, where I'm just like, cops don't exist in this world. Like, you just drive, people don't exist in this world. You just fucking drive around and do cool shit and jump off stuff, and I don't know.
Talk about a good game.
Fuck me, that game is like, I think it might be the best racing game I've ever played.
Because it's not a racing game; it's an arcade crash simulator.
It's a fuck around and find out simulator. It's great.
Yeah, crash into a bus, get as many points as you can, flip it. You have to like control
exactly,
it.
Yeah. God, yeah. I'm like, going back and playing the remaster for that reminded me how good the original game was, because I was a bit hesitant playing that, because I was like, it's got a lot of online achievements, and I remember being quite grindy, and it is too grindy. There's too much bullshit in it, but the core game is fucking nearly flawless in my opinion. So it's a bit of a tough act for Unbound to follow, but we'll see. Maybe I'll play some more Need for Speed games afterwards. But I've got half of the achievements now. The online's done, so I don't have to rush too much, and I don't think it's going to be leaving EA Play anytime soon. So, plus it does have a nice, it's got like a 4.0 ratio. So I'm like, ooh, maybe I should put some more time into it. Other thing the last thing I've been playing is GTA 3. Now, I wasn't really planning on talking about this, because I basically just got the first island started and just started doing the collectible stuff. But I had some time last night, finally putting some time into the missions and actually getting some progress in the game. It's really fun. I like it a lot. It takes me back to a time when I was a kid and was playing this game when I was way too young. And seeing someone's head just explode into blood when you shoot them with a sniper rifle. 13-year-old me thought that was the coolest fucking thing in the entire world.
You're 13. That tracks. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. No wonder I ended up the way I am.
It's a lot.
It's still very rough around the edges, this game. Like, they've improved some stuff, but it is still very much the game of like, hey, sometimes your car will just flip over and explode, or you'll run into something that you think is like a chain link fence, and sometimes it'll break, and sometimes it'll just destroy your car. And sometimes enemies will just shoot at you, sometimes you just get run over. The aiming in the game for the gun stuff is still fucking awful. They haven't done anything to improve that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what they have done is include a mini map because I realized that the original game on PlayStation 2 did not have a mini map. Anytime you wanted to check the map, you had to pause the game and look at it. So you had to learn the streets of, basically figure out where you were going from where you were going, like a real city. So there are a little bit of quality of life improvements, and I'm having a pretty good time with it. I'm still very early on, like I'm still on the first island, but I've made some good progress on like the side stuff because it gets more difficult as the story goes on because you get more gangs going up against you and they get better weapons. But yeah, it's been interesting to rediscover a game that I remember parts of very vividly from my childhood, but also other parts I just don't remember anything at all about. And so I'm like, oh, I remember this first island a lot because as a kid, you get the game and you're like, I don't really understand how the missions work or how to be good at this game. So I
Mm.
just fuck around in the island and do cheats and get a tank and that kind of stuff. And so I'm interested to see kind of as the game opens up as the second and third island, how much of those I actually even got to as a kid.
I'm about to ask, did you actually play GTA 3 back in the day?
I did, yeah. I played it quite a bit back when the PlayStation 2 first came out because that was like the killer game for that.
See, I
Uh,
played it plenty. I just didn't play it. I just put in codes and I would just run around for hours just blowing things up. And I don't think I've ever. God, there were multiple islands in that game. That was a
Yeah,
long time ago.
yeah, I don't think I ever made it off the first island. So like I definitely did like a
Yeah.
lot of the missions because I was like, all right, well, like you go to the L and it says, hey, go do this thing, and the mission is go and kill someone. You're like, well, I was doing it anyway, so that works. And I put in a cheat to get a rocket launcher, so it becomes a super easy mission.
Mhm.
Um,
I remember the dodo. I remember finding
yeah,
that and going, come on, let me
yeah,
fly a plane,
I,
please.
I'm gonna get over that bridge. I'm gonna get over that. Yeah,
I'm
I'm
gonna
totally
do
with
it.
you.
Nope. Because that was like cool. You couldn't fly planes in games back then. I was
Yeah,
like, that is so neat. Oh man. And never got the thing off the ground.
yeah,
Never.
GTA,
And then I just
GTA.
go back to
I was talking about this with Alison. I was like, GTA 3 is probably, in my opinion, maybe the most important game ever made in terms of like where this industry has gone for better or worse. Like if you look at
yeah,
like
I mean
the way that like I was like, look at I put up a video of like GTA 1 and 2 versus 3. I was like, this is where they started and this is what they ended up with a few years later. And like you can see that DNA in literally everything in terms of like all of AAA development, in terms of like side quests, open world design, mission structure. Like it's all like again, it's very, very rough in this form. And like a lot of the missions are like the one thing I ran into that I was just like, I completely forgot this was a thing. I went up to do a mission and the guy's like, and it just says, yeah, come back between these hours in the in-game timer to do the mission because the guy's not in the store. Can you imagine that being a thing in a game these days where it's like you walk up to the mission thing and it's like, yeah, he's not home. You just got to like sit around for a couple of minutes. Like I was like,
Shen would like to talk to you. Like
yeah, exactly. Well,
Shenmue.
sure, but like
Or
GTA 6 is like, hey, you got to go. It's like the drug dealer wants you to go do this mission, but also he's asleep during the day, so you need to come back at nighttime. And it's like, just change the game to
please,
nighttime. Just
Rockstar, please. It'd
just
be
change
awesome.
like every other game would just be like, oh, it just does a fade and it just changes to the time when the mission was set.
Mm.
It's yeah,
If even a fade, like I played games where you literally start the mission and like time moves as you're like just starting the like
yeah.
loading into the mission and
It's
like
like it's
it suddenly
nighttime
is
now.
nighttime.
You're like, all right,
Yep.
yeah. It's just yeah, it's really it's fun for me to re-explore. And I think after this, I'm going to do Vice City as well because I like that game is probably the one that was the one that really ignited my interest in kind of games, and that's the one I really like. I got 100% of that game as a kid, whereas like this one kind of I played around with.
Mm.
Um, I wanted that T-shirt. I remember because I went and bought like the guide magazine and all that kind of stuff. It gets so I found it was a I I could I 100% Vice City and all I got was a stupid T-shirt. I think is the outfit that you get for finishing the game.
That's awesome.
I think it's great. Yeah. Like yeah, Vice City is the one that really just was like they kind of took it around with it. It was like they added like helicopters, um, they added motorbikes, they kind of added multi-act structure for some of the missions, and kind of the story got more interesting and deeper. And because this game, like, I mean, like also this game has a silent protagonist, which again they kind of in San Andreas they wrote him to be mute as kind of a joke about that, with the fact that he just doesn't talk.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like, yeah, like there's not really a story. Like you, as a mute, silent protagonist, walk up to a guy and he's like, "Hey, I need you to go kill this guy." And you just go nod and turn around and go and do it. It's like, all right. I mean, that's mission design in 2001 or whatever. So, um, anyway,
I
I've been
mean, they
talking.
literally kind of invented it in that case. I
Yeah,
mean, they
it's
kind of do whatever they want, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and look where they got them. I mean, GTA 5 is the most successful game of all time. And I imagine 6 is probably going to be even more so.
Yeah, it's wild to look at the sales numbers for 5 when you
Yeah.
remember that the main driver of their income is didn't even come out at release. Like it was just GTA 5, the single player, and it
Yeah.
still broke sales records.
Yeah.
And then GTA Online came out like a year later. Like it was a while. And now
I had my,
that's
yeah, it's insane to think about like how, like that, because that company was already crazy successful already, right? Like the GTA games
Mhm.
were already like sky high. And then they were like,
Yeah, since like 3. Yeah, they
yeah,
all were just bang,
eh,
bang, bang. And
yeah.
then
And then
4
they were
came
like,
out, and then
hey, let's
bang.
bring
And
out a fifth one. And suddenly it was like, oh no, you did like a whole nother level.
I like how you say that, and literally the same thing now. It's like, hey, let's bring out a
Yeah,
sixth one. And then we all watch
exactly.
the trailer like, is that real? Like I I the funny thing about the GTA 6 trailer is when it came out, I had just gotten back from Miami. Like I was in Miami
Mm.
2 months before, and I was watching it, and I'm like with my daughter, I'm like, yeah, that was Miami. We were just there. Like, yeah, that's Florida. Like
Yeah.
that's Florida people for you, man. With an old lady with a shotgun, like, yeah, that's this old lady with her. She's just down the street with her shotgun. Like, don't get near her. And the gators in the
Jesus Christ.
pool, that's a real fear. Like, I I didn't learn taxes in school, but I sure learned about death rolls and gators and how to avoid them. Like, Florida's a
Uh,
wild place, man. Florida's a
um,
wild place.
I may be visiting in the near future, so I'm looking forward to seeing how it
I'm
lines up.
going down there a week from today. I'll already be in Florida. So,
Oh, amazing.
speaking of cloud gaming, I'm gonna put that to the test.
Yeah, for
So,
sure. Um, well, I think that's pretty much everything we've been playing. Um, I will quickly go through leaderboards and completions, and then we'll wrap up the show, I think, unless you got anything else you wanted to add there, Shane.
nah, not particularly.
Easy. All right. Well, on leaderboards, in fourth place is me. We don't normally do fourth place, but I'm in it, so I decided to announce it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
In third place, we have MC Pandas Games with 4,575. We have Mad Eye Pad Eye with 11,661. And we have Mikhail KV with 17,560. So good work, fellas. That's a lot of score to be putting up in a week. Look, a lot of TA's been
yeah,
pushing a lot of competitions recently. So,
yeah. What's going on right now? I think there's something on there.
yeah, there's definitely something going on. I can't remember what it was, though.
Usually I just look
Um,
at him and go, nah, not doing that.
yeah, pretty
No.
much. Yeah.
Not
These days,
after
I'm like,
bingo,
it's
no,
like
no, no,
with my
no, no.
completion percentage, I'd have to start a lot of bullshit. Um, Speaking of completions, so we have Vex 173 with Farming Simulator 2, Gas Station Simulator, and Lego Indiana Jones 2. Shadow's Life finished up Fallout 76. Phoenix Frost finished up Mortal Kombat 1. The Moon Zone finished up Pokemon Red and Blue on Retro Achievements and the Lego Harry Potter Collection. A lot of games we were talking about coming up here. Super Bob finished Gear Club Unlimited 2 Ultimate Edition or whatever it is. And he hit his 90% completion with the Korean version of Wally. So congrats to him. It's good to see him working in the completions. Cameron finished up Hardspace Shipbreaker, which he also really enjoyed.
As he
Rapture
should.
finished Stumble Guys and Mortal Kombat 1 as well. Jake finished up Remember Me, which is a bit of a blast from the past, ironically.
Great
Um,
game.
yeah, I think, yeah, definitely had some interesting ideas. And I wish they had more of the memory stuff, though, because I think there's only like 4 of them in the game. Um,
Mm.
And then Dragframe finished up Lego Batman 3, which also came up again this week. It's weird. I guess it's just kind of, we're just manifesting it.
Listen, you just have to, yeah, you just get used to your role as an influencer. Like, you just
Yes.
gotta
Oh my
embrace it,
God.
you know? I mean,
I wish we had been. I was chatting with Cameron and and a few other people yesterday, and we were just talking about like and Nick. And we were talking about like influencers, and I was like, we were talking about like it's like, oh, even if this podcast was massive and we had millions of listeners, would I classify this as a real job and myself as an influencer? Absolutely not. In no fucking way.
oh, I'll do it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I'll do it
Yeah,
happily.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, and then we have the word challenge, everyone's favorite competition. I say favorite in quotes because no one's fucking guessing. Come on, guys, get in there.
Wait,
It's
we
a
have a word
Discord.
challenge?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, exactly right. It's the favorite word. It's the favorite Hall of Gamers word challenge in that there is only one, so therefore it wins by default. So basically, the idea is on our Discord, I put a game in. You guess what the game is. I give a clue every week. If you guess the game correctly, a GIF or an image pops up, and you win $20. Simple as that. You get one guess per hour. You can just start spamming it. The clues are for this game is this game has a cancelled sequel. It involves a sport of some kind. So whether that's the main thing or part of the game or whatever, there's a sport involved somewhere. And the game has a colon in the title. Now, if you don't know what a colon is, you should probably go and check it out. You should probably go and get yours checked out. But in this case, I'm talking about from a literary perspective. It's the two dots.
Oh, no.
It's the 2 dot thing in the title. So yeah, get on it. Then I'm probably going to give a really, really big clue next week. So now's your time to get in and start getting some of the sort of more obvious guesses out of the way. So good luck to everyone. I can't wait to see who gets this one. I think it's going to take a little while because I picked a hard one for this week.
Oh, darn. So I'd see my guess didn't work. So I tried
That's a shame.
based on your clues.
And then a huge thank you to our Patrons, patreon.com/hallofgamers if you want to help support the show, basically so we can afford to keep things running here. We reinvest every single dollar into Zoom, into Buzzsprout for pushing our podcast out, for hosting, and to equipment for like mics and that kind of stuff. A huge thank you to Lee Howard, Mikhail KV, Natolinator, Mad Lefty, Admiral Awesome, Happy Moogles, Kung Fu Skills, Hack and Pone, Cavalier 07, Old Mate Clown, Mark B, McLovin Legend, Marsage, Left for Legacy, and McNulty. Thank you so much. I do, for those who aren't familiar with the Patreon, I do put up extra content, the sort of stuff I record before and after the show, and any kind of spoiler cast or anything, any kind of extra content that we do. We are looking at maybe doing some lights, camera, and action on some Resident Evil stuff that just came out. So keep your ears open.
Or Fallout.
Fallout's also a very, very good contender for that. So keep your ears open. And I try not to push the Patreon too much because I don't do this for the money, that's for sure. But it does really, really help us, and we don't gate any of our content. So if you want to give $20, you want to give $2, everyone gets access to everything. We just want to make it as fair as possible for anyone who wants to help support the show. We want to try and provide some value back to you. And as always, we do the show live.
I'm successful while I was gone.
Yeah, right. If only.
That's why I came back. Okay,
hopefully with you on the show again, Shane, that we're going to draw in the people and start fleecing them. But as always, we do the show live on Twitch. Xbox Hall of Gamers is the place to find us. Come say hi, hang out in the chat. We appreciate all our supporters, and we try to ask questions and interact with you guys as much as possible. And that's going to bring us to the end of the show. Shane, have you got anything you want to shill?
No, not really. You can catch me on stream at FirehawkD_Xbox on Twitch. I stream like daily. Other than that, I mean, yeah, pretty much it.
Right. Well, hopefully we can have you on a bit more often in the future. It'd be great to have your wonderful input, and it's nice to have another completionist to back me up when Cameron starts spouting some bullshit about starting games with unattainables and things like that.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but like, can we maybe downgrade his role or something?
Yeah, it's fine.
I don't know what he's doing.
I just.
Yeah.
I mean, people have been complaining that he's too quiet in the video edits. I've actually just been turning him down slowly and just over time. So people just tuning him.
I'm really glad you took that suggestion. He was really spreading some toxic. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's on, but good.
That's fine. He's not going to listen to this anyway.
No, he's definitely not. He's gone.
Yeah, exactly. But that's going to wrap up episode 115 of the Xbox Hall of Games podcast. We will catch you guys next week. See you later.